Like if you're reading a comic, you should be able to strip away all the pictures and read dialogue to be able to tell, okay, these two are different people at the very least.
I want to do more mystery without showing it, or I can leave it up to the reader. What the hell did he actually do? Like, how demented or evil is this guy?
Like, I maybe didn't understand that there was I could get nuance and complexity out of a comic book.
From different cultures and religion, mythology, stuff like that. I was just wrapping all of my favorite stuff into a comic.
Writing is the voyage of discovery. If he doesn't know how the story's going to end, then they can't figure out how the story's going to end either.
And my thinking has changed on this, that you just got to make the bad guy bad.
I think the important thing is, either way, is just don't make the villains impotent.
You can interject different aspects of your own personality if that's what motivates you to write, but every character that you write can't suffer from like crippling depression, and every character that you write can't be like the raging bitch.
You have to put yourself in their shoes to relate to the situation that you yourself put them in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Writing Prose. I went to do a deep breath in and I felt it. I felt like I was going to just choke the shit out of myself, so I had to take a second. It's been one hell of a Valentine's Day, let me tell you all. So, we decided, in keeping with the wonderful, lovely season, that we were going to talk about people who deconstruct stories to the point of not having anything left to build back up, as well as dissonance when you're writing something with your story or character, something along those lines that maybe is dealing with an unsavory topic. How do you make sure it doesn't come across as you condoning said thing, like actors who play serial killers or writing about World War II from the Nazi perspective. So, Sai, just get your bitch out of the way right now. Like, I already know that you got it. Just.
I don't know what you mean.
There's a whole lot of big talk backstage for you to back up. Now, look at that. Look at Luke. Even Luke's like, you lying bitch.
Also, at some point in this stream, we will be discussing how to properly write romance. 'Tis the season.
That was Alex's interjection. The way that I write romances, I don't. So.
Y'all are some pent-up motherfuckers. That's all I'm saying.
It's fine. It's fine. Before we get into any of our topics tonight, how is everyone doing? Don't know. Answer. Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna just call on you guys because
everybody's pretty chill. Looks like everybody's pretty chill.
Yeah, everyone's chill. I feel like I have to be a teacher and I have to be like, John, how are you today?
Been good.
That's good. Good.
Yeah.
Luke Stone, how about you?
You know, I'm doing pretty good. It's a Sunday, and yeah, it's okay. No, doing great. Been writing a lot, working out the finishing parts of this next arc that I'm working on, and looking forward to tonight's stream.
Nice.
Now, did either of you two get any Valentine's Day cards in your construction paper pouch that you had hanging off your desk?
Everyone had to, if you gave one, you had to give to all. So, Jerry, did you just give one to Luke and no one else?
No, I'm just sitting here trying to wrap my mind around the fact that the people on stream on Valentine's on Sunday night are going to be the ones giving romance writing advice.
What's about dates?
Irony.
True.
You know what? You provide a very logical argument against this, Jerry. I'm proud of you. See, Sai?
Yeah, Sai who dipped because Chromebook. Yay! It's happening already! Luke, how are you besides pissed off at the world?
When am I not pissed off at the world?
I know, that's why I said besides that part.
Equilibrium.
Okay. We'll take it. We'll take what we can get.
I've got champagne, so...
Oh! I got pretty gross mango beer.
Mango
Yeah,
beer.
it's not, I'm never listening to that guy again. He has horrible taste.
Probably a good idea not to.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I went and asked a dude on Friday because I was like, I had a good day. I'm happy. Like, things are going well. I need a good wheat beer. And he was like, do you like mango? I was like, hey, yeah. And he goes, oh, there's a mango beer. And I was like, oh, okay.
How is that like wheat beer at all?
I love wheat beer. I don't like hops, though. Like, I don't like really hoppy beers.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out how, like, you asked for a wheat beer, and he's like, yeah, check out these mangoes. Like,
yeah, it's a mango wheat ale. And really, that's just code for, do you like sour beer? Because that's pretty much what this is going to turn into, is a sour beer, which is upsetting. But I spent the money, so I'm going to drink it.
No. Like, sour beers are...
disgusting and vile?
Yes, well, that, but there's somebody's idea of trying to salvage a beer that had gone skunky. That is what I am convinced of.
So you're drinking a sour beer out of a cactus cooler can.
Yeah. No. It's a terrible idea. Just fucking terrible idea.
The can it came in. I don't know what to do about the can. Just drink it anyway and pretend it doesn't suck. Right? Welcome back, Alex.
Thank you.
Jerry had a very good point while you were gone.
I was switching to my phone. What was the very good point?
Jerry, would you like to repeat it? Because I don't want to do it a disservice.
I don't see how the guys and gals there on stream are qualified to give writing advice on romance. If we're on stream on Valentine's on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I would like to think that there are some of us on this stream who are actually getting some. So,
are there? Oh, damn! That was some fucked up shade.
I will say I've been married for 20 years, so.
So you're not having sex, understood?
Fair enough. But so the idea is, I at one point I did know something about romance. So
I was gonna say I didn't hear the word happily before married.
Definitely happily married.
That was a low blow. We're not gonna let Cy talk
You know what?
about
The
romance.
happiness was implied with the way he said, "I've been married for 20 years," not like. Yeah, well, I've been married for 20 years. It was more like, yeah, I've been married for 20 years. Like, that's happy. So you fuck on off with your shit.
I've been married for 20 long years.
Again, inflection and story. Yeah, see? He gets it.
How are you, Lee?
I'm really well, thanks, guys. How's everyone going?
It's going good.
Well,
Glad that we could get you on. I mean, granted, this is at least 50% your topic, so... it's fitting that you are here for it as opposed to other people like, here's a topic. Oh, I can't make it though.
Yeah, that'd be bad form. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, seriously, anytime. I know that it's a weird time difference, but we are happy to have you. All right, where do we want to kick this off? Like, I don't want to kick it off talking about romance, so shut up, Cy.
Oh, you asshole.
No.
Oh, and by the way, low blows, that's the advanced class of writing romance.
Low blows.
Just saying.
Oh my gosh. All right, so I think why don't we start with Lee's topic. So basically, I summed it up as dissonance because I had to put something a lot shorter than the explanation that was in writing prose. I'm used to that. Why don't you go ahead and give a rundown of exactly what it is that you were meaning when we were talking?
And this is something that's been around since before cancel culture, but certainly cancel culture's made it more prominent. The idea that by writing about something doesn't mean that you advocate for it. It doesn't mean that you're saying this is okay, this is an okay thing. The examples I used was when Zac Efron played Ted Bundy, he wasn't advocating for what Ted Bundy did. When Robert Carlyle played the part of Hitler, he wasn't saying kill all Jews. Right. You can participate in something without advocating for it. It doesn't even have to be a warning, like a warning or like a this is how it could go wrong. You could just participate in telling a story without saying I advocate for this thing. Because in my comic and in some of my stories, some of my fiction, there's some pretty spicy stuff in there, and we're all writers, so we all know that stuff comes into your head, and what you do with it is up to you. You can ignore it or you can put it forward, but putting it forward doesn't mean you're saying this is a good thing. If you write about racism, it doesn't mean you're a racist. If you write about rape, it doesn't mean you're a rapist. It doesn't mean you advocate for those things. We're getting to the point where someone like James Ellroy, now if you guys read Black Dahlia, White Jazz, LA Confidential, like he'd be cancelled today if he hadn't started 20 odd years ago and he put out Black Dahlia or White Jazz today. That'd be it. He'd be done for. He'd be unpersoned on Twitter. It's a good thing that he's a boomer. He doesn't have to worry about the social media side of things. But he's an amazing author, and his works have been adapted in a bunch of different ways. To say we could no longer have James Ellroy, we could no longer have even someone like Stephen King, who's really like pop culture-y these days. A lot of the stuff he writes about is really, he's not advocating for these things. You hear it all the time. People say, where do you come up with your ideas? You must have really bad nightmares. He's like, no, I sleep fine. I'm good. I don't have some darkness following me. I just write about this stuff. And I feel the same way. I write about some pretty awful stuff, but I got the most normal, regular wife and 2 kids, backyard with the dog sort of life you could think of. I don't know what it says about me, but it doesn't have to say anything about me because I can take that step back from my work, but they won't let me. They're going to chase me and say, you wrote this racist thing, therefore you're racist. You wrote this person getting hurt, therefore you advocate for violence.
Right. Yeah, I actually think that that's a really interesting kind of thought process because so everyone knows that I'm writing about horror anthologies and stuff. Well, the funny thing is I've talked through a couple of these nightmares with Alex, with Death Metal, and I've made both of them go, holy fuck, are you okay? Like, because of the shit that'll pop into my head, and I was like, oh, and if we have this monster, what if it looked like this? And they're like, do you need a hug? Like, are you?
And that's the other side of the coin, I guess. That's the other side of the coin is the people who do have skin in that game when they write about it. And if just say that's a way of them working through it. Should James O'Barr never have been able to write The Crow because of what happened to him and his girlfriend? Like, you can't write about that's a horrible thing you wrote about. It happened to me, man. I'm working through it. This is how I work through it. So to say you can't do these things is taking away my paycheck. So I can't put dinner on the table for my family just because I think of some fucked up things doesn't mean I advocate them. And you're taking away the opportunity for people who maybe do have nightmares, do have PTSD or trauma or other issues they're trying to work through, and you say you can't write about these things. It's like, it happened to me. How can I not write about it? It come into my head. Why am I not allowed to write about it?
Right. Well, and I know from my perspective, at least when it comes to a lot of this stuff, like I know where my brain could take it. It doesn't mean that that's where I would instantly go. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things where sometimes being able to control the storytelling and to take it into those really dark, seedy places and show it in a really raw form can be a really good way to advocate against it and to show just how bad it can be and why we don't, open that Pandora's box. We don't go down that path because when you do, this is how things unravel. This is where humanity starts to fall apart. This is where psyches start to split and people start to lose their grip on life. And if we don't ever, it's the same sort of thing. Like in my day to day, I actually talk about a lot of fucked up shit because I'm advocating for people to get past stigma of it. Yep. And if you never talk about it, we all think it. Anytime somebody is telling a story where somebody was, heaven forbid, someone was raped, it always pops into your head. Was there anything that they could have done differently that I should pay attention to in my life to make sure that I don't end up making that same mistake? It does not by any stretch of the imagination mean I am blaming you for you being violated. That's not at all. But that's where people love to take it because they think if you could say something like that, if you could say, well, you went to a part of town that you weren't familiar with people that you didn't know that well, and you let your guard down, those are risky behaviors. And a way to, it doesn't mean if you avoid those risky behaviors that isn't going to happen. But what it means is it's increasing the risk, and you have to decide for yourself if it's worth it or not. But if we never talk about that, because it hurts people's feelings, then people don't even recognize the risks that they're taking when they take them.
Well, in that same vein, it's like you kind of instruct, everybody these days, don't accept drinks that you didn't see made. Don't walk away from your drink in a bar or a club. I mean, that's not blaming people that did it and got roofied or whatever, but it's saying
It's
literally
called
don't do
learning.
this.
It's called
Cautionary
learning from
tales
other
are-
people's.
That was a phrase I was after before. Cautionary tales, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I mean-
exactly the phrase I was trying to come up with earlier.
But these are mechanisms that are used all throughout literature. I mean, you look at the Bible, you look at grim fairy tales. I mean, a great example. It's like a mentor of mine said, everybody's an example. Some are just bad. Some of the best examples are bad examples.
Right.
And, it
that's
doesn't
right.
mean that you espouse it. It doesn't mean that you're trying to glamorize it. It just means and these things are complex because there's so many different elements that go into it. But it's like, terming it as, because when we think about the term like dissonance, I mean, you're thinking of some kind of cacophony. You're thinking of something that is just like, man, this is completely out of line with that. But any of us that live in the real world know that these things are going on. These things happen. So writing about it doesn't make us, the ones that are, it doesn't all of a sudden incriminate us, by
used to be
writing
how
about
we
these things.
processed things.
That's
like
right.
We had wars. We had writers that went and told us about what was going on over there. This is how we
Right.
process this shit as a country.
And we used to
Like,
look up to
we
those
need to
people that
write.
would tell those hard stories, the people that are willing to
Yeah.
go to those dark places. We'd sort of say,
Well,
thanks for being the
people used to
sin
tell
eater.
the
Thanks for
truth,
being
too.
that too. You say, thanks for going to those dark corners where we can't, bringing back a little artifact that we can go, wow, that is
Yes.
messed up. I'm glad I don't live there. There's going to be an element of voyeurism in it, but you don't take joy in it. You don't take joy. I know people say they enjoy horror movies, but they enjoy getting scared in a safe environment. They enjoy getting scared in a
Yes.
safe place. I remember watching the first Saw movie. I didn't enjoy it at all. I wasn't triggered. I didn't feel unsafe, but there was no, it didn't follow the
Disturbing.
pattern of a typical horror movie. It wasn't so much horror. It was just like gore porn. It was just people getting hurt. And I said, I can't. I said, the girl was at the time at the cinema and she loved horror movies. You go see all these horror movies back in the day. I said, I can't enjoy this because there's no Freddy, there's no Jason, there's no Pumpkinhead, there's no Cenobite. It's just people getting hurt. No, there's no fun there.
And the thing
there's no
is,
lore.
where does it stop? If you just were to outlaw writing about the deepest, darkest parts of the human mind, then where do you stop? Where do you draw a line at gore porn, and then you draw a line at something a little less graphic, and then you draw a line at something a little less graphic. Before long, you're at a place where you can't really write about anything.
That's right. And I guess that's what big scale government censorship, where they've got I don't know, you my guys know the test where you've got to meet so many categories of does it have value, does it entertain, it's got to meet those certain categories to be considered for censorship, to be allowed past censorship. I know Australia's got fairly strong censorship laws, particularly when it comes to video games. We only got an R rating in the last couple of years, if you can believe it. We never had an R rating for video games, which makes things tricky. But if it fails those criteria, there's nothing beneficial. It doesn't teach anything. It's not a cautionary tale. It doesn't have aesthetic or entertainment value. If you fail all those marks, probably that's something you shouldn't be engaging in. Maybe you do it as a personal, sometimes we write stuff just for ourselves. Sometimes we write to exercise an idea, and not every bit of writing you do has to be displayed to somebody else, has to be interacted with by somebody else. Sometimes some writing shouldn't be shared. Sometimes it's very personal.
Well,
That's a diary. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you look at A Clockwork Orange, that wasn't something that he ever really wanted anybody to see and enjoy, and then people really started to love it, and he was like, y'all are some sick fucks. Like that wasn't supposed to be this like smash hit. It was an idea that was bumping around in his head that he had to get out. And he was like, this is uncomfortable for me. I hate this. I don't like what I've created. And that happened with a lot of was it Kubrick that did? Who was it? There was one director who like had a bunch of his movies, and he actually was deeply disturbed by a lot of them and didn't like them.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kubrick.
People love them. I think it was Kubrick, because I think that there was like a warehouse where he kept a lot of his shit, like a little shed or whatever out in the back, and he was like, I don't know why people like these. Like, people shouldn't. These are not things that people should want to consume. They're just shit that I have to get out of my head because it won't stop.
Well, I think as a in my day job, I like to write. Given my day job, I do like to write villains, and I'm quite good at writing the darker aspects of stories. And I think because there's an aspect for me when I write a good villain or a good dark part of the story, there's always that redemptive aspect that can come from it. And so for every evil side of the coin, there's an equally good side of the coin. And so I think as writers, when you write those situations, you're doing your job. It's your job, right? A good writer can write from any perspective and find the voice of any character. Mm-hmm. If they're a good and competent writer. If they're not, then they're only going to write things they know. That's just my thought.
Very true. Very true. I do want to say we had a couple of super chats, but the conversation is just too damn good for us to have interrupted. So, Jason, thank you very much for the $2. We appreciate you very much.
He said his writing didn't come through. I think he was probably trying to say super simp, just a guess.
That would be my guess. We appreciate you nonetheless, sir. Thank you very much. And then Silver with the $5. Thank you, sir. He says, Cyborg and Red, you got the biggest balls of unobtainium and CG streaming opposite comic artist Pro Secrets launch stream for Canuga's Creed. I agree with Sai's follow-up to that. He's just streaming against us because we keep a regular schedule because we have respect for our audience. So thank you guys so much for constantly hanging out with us. And let Ethan do what he wants to do. That's cool. Good for him. I definitely think that this is a topic worth watching. And if you don't watch it live, at least you can still get some pretty damn good insight on the replay. And Pops said, I paused EVS to come say hi to the people I know. I appreciate that, Pops. You guys are awesome.
I think also there's a large part of the population that puts themselves in the shoes of the protagonist, antagonist, or whichever one they relate to, and they think that the writer, and they relate to those characters like that, so that they think the writer is also like writing himself into the story or herself or
that's always one of the big dangers whenever you are on the viewing side of things. It's one of the things that, like, whenever you do any introductory to writing class, like the number one rule is you cannot assume that the writer is projecting. Okay, like a good writer, as Luke said, is able to get in the mind and get into the character of every single person that they put on a page. And that doesn't mean that we put pieces of ourselves in those characters. It just means that we have to get into that headspace in order to think like said character to make sure that they're believable on a page. It doesn't mean that any single one of us are projecting ourselves into these characters. Now, we might project some of our flaws into our villains. We might project some of our better attributes into our heroes. But at the end of the day, that's not necessarily, like, we are not the characters that we put on the page, and it's very important that that is something that is established, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people miss, that it goes over their heads whenever they're looking at something.
It could be because they can't do that. Not everybody can write. I've often said
a good writer steps outside themselves. They don't have to be the characters that they create.
Well, and in fact,
it's because
they
got
kind of
this
can't
amazing
be.
thing called imagination.
Right.
Well, I mean, so imagine if you have 5 characters in your book. You can't be all 5 of those characters, otherwise they're just the same character.
Yes, I can.
That's
exactly my point.
Me and my 6 other personalities say we
You
can.
can do all 5 voices.
So I just want to point out.
I can.
Someone punched their phone.
I'm sorry.
I just want to point out the way Pale Rider called Valentine's Day VD Day.
Valentine's
For
Day.
some
Day.
people, I'm sure.
Or
Penicillin. That's all I'm saying.
It's your friend.
We love Pale Rider. I did notice that too. I was like, ooh. But yeah, no, I was gonna say, I do think that that's actually one of the difficult parts for writing for a lot of people. Like, for one of the issues that I keep running into is I'm trying to write some of these really raw, evil, visceral kind of emotions into some of these characters, and the reason that I'm having such a hard time writing is because I know in order to write that convincingly, I am going to have to put myself in that mind space where I'm going to feel it. And I so badly am like, oh, can I handle that today? Like, what else do I got? What else do I have to do to be a productive member of society today? Or is this a day where I can like do this and then cry and like eat Ben and Jerry's and curl up in my bed away from the world when I'm done? Because
I mean, I think that's definitely one of those things where like it affects every single one of us in a way. Like you know, some of the greatest comics and books and everything, they have these massive hiatuses between volumes because they get to that super dark space, and that writer just like, yeah, I need to take like 2 or 3 years off because
I just need a bit. I need some time.
Getting to that headspace was really not good for me. So I need to, you know, think of puppies and rainbows for a year.
Right. Well, and I think that also depends a lot on, so I know that Luke is probably kind of there with me in a lot of this, but when you're a very, very empathetic person just by nature, where like to the point where you can't necessarily turn it off when you want to, writing a lot of these stories and these characters is probably one of the most draining things that I think that you could end up doing, because it takes a lot from you. And if you're writing about stuff that's dark and depressing and dismal and everything, like, oh, after a while you're like, I'm gonna just watch cartoons on repeat. Like, I'm gonna watch the Powerpuff Girls, and I don't even like that show, but it's bright and colorful, and they always win. So I'm just gonna watch it because I need a win with glitter. Like,
I'm not even gonna lie. So I'm working on the last 2 arcs. I'm writing all of this Hybrids arc all at once, so that I can be done. And as soon as I produce the last, like the 9th issue, I'm taking a break and I'm doing a kid's story. Like it is. It's like I gotta wash, you know. I gotta play in the kiddie pool for a minute, you know. Yeah.
Right. Like crying Freeman, you need cleaning.
Yeah.
I got Trash Day right here, brother.
Sweet, man. Awesome.
That's on my stack of 2 reads.
Yeah.
It's only like 3 short boxes deep. No big deal.
I was going to say 200 titles deep.
Yeah.
No, because I don't have all of those yet. I'm still waiting.
Trash Day is so
let me flex my man's book.
Gentle. It's so gentle compared to the Killing Field and then the last
Dude,
one.
I've had a chance to talk with Luke about some of the stuff he's gotten planned, and I don't blame him for wanting to go write a kid's book after this. He was telling me a little bit of stuff, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. If I ever get to writing the 2 or 3 shorts that I have pretty well fleshed out, like Luke, the DMH, the one that I explained to you.
Yeah.
That's like a 4 on a scale of 1 to 10 for what the last one is. Like that last one hits a solid 9 to 10 on the like I fucking hate everything scale, because that, like, when you wake up screaming, like, that's not a good it's not a good dream, but it's a decent story.
Hey, you went through the terror, and get it down on paper. And,
yeah.
You know.
I think that's the other reason I haven't written it yet, is because I'm like, I feel like it's too soon. Like, that was only a couple weeks ago.
I feel like I'm going to have to get you some nice fresh spring flowers, maybe some puppies.
I definitely am going to, like, spray my entire room with lavender.
No. Listen. You know what you do? I'll send you a playlist of shit you listen to, and you just dive in with your sword and your shield, and you cut right through it, okay?
Nice. Done. Like it. Appreciate it. See, Luke... Brotherly,
and then you need
something
to help bring her out of that state.
Oh no, he's gonna push me through it so it gets done, and then the puppies and the lavender and the Powerpuff Girls.
Exactly.
What is it that Churchill said? If you find yourself walking through hell, keep going. Yeah.
Well, you don't turn around. That just prolongs your time
you
there.
own the place. What?
Said you don't turn around. That'll just prolong your time there. You don't know how far you've pushed through already. And if you go back, you're going to have to push through again later.
No, you never look
if you
back.
own the place.
Turn to salt.
Don't look back. You're not going that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Luke, I did want to share with you something I learned today. Walmart delivery will deliver a nice single malt. Just saying.
The important things.
That was important enough to stop the stream for.
Yes.
I've had a couple of these sitting in the fridge for a couple of weeks. So I figured I'd drink them before they went tits up.
Show again.
Show again.
I'm on my phone.
Oh,
I
it's
can't
cupcake.
Yep.
It's cupcake.
It's fucking fantastic.
Oh my goodness. All right, so how do you get around then, or do you even bother when you're writing a character and you have that separation with the character, but you get the public outcry that now you're a bigot or a, I don't know, whatever else they call us, a Nazi?
I reckon write it, because they're not going to take it back. No apology makes them happy. Bending the knee gets you cancelled even further. You don't necessarily even have to dive headfirst into it and go, yes, I am all these things you've said I am. Just don't engage, or just say, look, I'm making art. This is my story. I'm telling a story. If you don't like it, I can understand it's not for you. Best of luck. Peace, brother. And
exactly.
Slings and arrows, because if you can go full into it, I reckon, and that'll build a particular core audience of people. You see people like EVS, like he dives right into his persona. There's this whole anti-SJW thing really strongly. He sort of reeled it back a little bit lately, but I think that alienated some people and brought other people closer. So if you want to be this hardcore, here's a guy who did Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis, and they've got this particular persona, this particular identity that people see them as. You can either go all the way into it and cut free all these other people that are offended by that, and just stick to that true core of fans that like you for who you are or who you say you are, or you can just do the peace brother route and say, look, I'm going to keep making my books. You can't stop me. They only have power when you let them have power.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't have like actual experience with this because I don't have enough people backing my book for that to happen. But
I wasn't ready for that.
But in theory, at the end of the day, let people vote with their dollars. It's like, if not everything is for everybody. It's real simple.
Mm-hmm.
And just because it isn't
Everything
for you,
has to be.
No, nor should it. Everybody will find their audience. Everyone will find their audience.
Exactly. If you let them vote with their dollar, and you do bend the knee, people who were on your side will then leave. Let's say, look, I thought, look at it.
Ask Marvel and DC.
Thought you had integrity.
Yeah, you got something. Yeah, all you got to do is just stand firm. You don't even have to walk into the gale,
people are looking
into the
for
maelstrom.
Consistency.
Yeah, just be consistent and be professional.
Yeah,
that's always been like my mantra with everything, is that any criticism that I take, if it's valid, if it's constructive criticism and it's valid and it's something that I can take in and use to improve my book, my story, whatever, I'll take it and I'll apply it. But like, people trying to tear you down for no other reason than it's not their cup of tea, or they just want to throw a bitch fit that day. There is no point in rewarding those fucking clowns with your response. Just effectively turn your cheek and just keep fucking going. That guy was never going to buy your book in the first place.
There you go.
Let's put it this way. If we listened every time somebody said something not nice about something that we did, Red Valkyrie wouldn't even exist. Red Valkyrie wouldn't have even lasted a couple of months, because I had haters, Sai had haters, straight from jump telling us that we're, assholes, or I'm an ethot, grifters, that was a fun one. All the different things. And the point is anytime somebody has a criticism, I always take it as this is somebody trying to express their dislike for something, which means it's at least worth me taking 5 seconds to reflect on how I feel about that. Now, all these people that were saying that to me, I took 5 seconds and went, y'all are just salty.
Well,
and that was that. Yes. And I was like, all right, I reflected, and I decided that your
y'all
opinion,
a bunch of salty bitches, and fuck off.
Yeah, like, your opinion is not worth me changing up what I want to do. I like what we do.
You have to use the term we actually used at the time. Sandy vaginas.
Sandy vaginas, yes. Sandy vaginas working on some pearls.
Pecan sandies.
They didn't. Unfortunately, they never produced any. It was just jagged little stones. No, but the. Go ahead, Jerry.
The thing about it is with social media and with Twitter and Facebook and all these social media sites, 99% of the people who read your work wouldn't even have pointed out a flaw or twisted it to mean something that it wasn't. But once that one person points out a little bit of something, then the 99% jump on with that person and dogpile, because they wouldn't have even noticed that point that person made, but because somebody pointed out. It's kind of like your thousands of people, if you have that big of an audience, is looking at your work, and out of that 1,000, 10, 20, 30% are trying to nitpick it to find something wrong.
Yeah, but I would say that 9 times out of 10, that one person that finds the one thing to nitpick isn't even usually somebody that actually purchased your book. It's usually somebody that either found that shit online, or like a buddy of them let them read their so they didn't even freaking pay for your thing. They just were like, oh well, now I'm gonna go like it's somebody that's usually like invested the time to find a way to get a hold of your stuff, so they can tear it apart. Like, does
anybody think that there's not people completely addicted to cancel culture? Like people who get an absolute
100%.
It's a drug.
Dopamine.
It's a drug. They're addicted. They're addicted. Yeah, dopamine.
yeah.
The dopamine fix. They cancel someone. Yeah, go on.
It's become a religion.
Yeah.
Like politics and cancel culture have become a religion. Look at me. I am holier than thou. I am more virtuous than you.
I am the most accepting of all of the things, and you're a bigot.
Kind of shit.
And
I'm just saying.
I've talked to Lee about this, but I said this here a while back. I'm not sure if I said it on here or where I did, but when it comes down to social media and everything, what this is allowed for people to do is people do a lot of really dumb shit when they have a group to hide behind. And what social media has allowed for is the biggest mob on the face of the planet without actively with even more anonymity than before, because nobody's going to take the time to track down an IP address outside of a government. And so like at the end of the day, people will say and do shit that they would never do on their own because they feel the safety of anonymity and being a part of a group. And that's the whole thing, is why groupthink is this dangerous thing. Is why you look at history and everything, you look at things like the French Revolution. Groupthink led to the Reign of Terror. Freaking 5 to 10 years of French nobility getting their heads cut off. Like at the end of the day, that's what all this stuff leads to. And social media is just the latest phase, and cancel culture is that modern day thing where it's just, we're going to go after somebody and make their life miserable for months until they cave.
I think people would argue.
Civilized men. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think people would have argued that 6 months ago that wasn't a thing until a week ago, Saturday Night Live did a skit about it. So I think when Saturday Night Live makes a skit about it, clearly it's legitimate.
You can't keep ignoring it.
Recognized by all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing now. When it's poked at by Mad Magazine or Saturday Night Live or Mad TV, if that's even still a thing, it's obviously it's relevant enough that people can relate to it enough for them to spoof it. If it's a spoof, it's relatable to general society. The biggest problem that I've seen too, and this is something that I watched and was mortified when I saw just how bad it was. I've seen where something small will start with 2 or 3 people online, and it's just those 2 or 3 people. Nobody else thinks this way. Nobody else agrees with this shit. But those 2 or 3 people, they're loud, and they don't have anything better to do. And so they go into multiple circles and they start talking about this shit, and they spread it and they spread it and they spread it. And before you know it, somebody will be like, oh yeah, Luke's son. They go, oh, I heard about that guy actually, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, hold on.
Wait a minute.
Where did you hear it? And then they start going, oh, I don't know. It was somewhere online, but a lot of people were talking about it. It's the same 3 people on the same 3 accounts. They just hit a bunch of different groups that you are tangentially a part of. So you feel like you've heard it a lot. It's the same thing the media has been doing for years, where there used to be journalistic integrity. That's gone completely batshit out the window. Now everything's just fucking TMZ. Like, it's not even reporting on facts anymore. It's just clickbait after clickbait. But
that's the hyperbolic society we live in now.
Yeah, but
everybody wants that clickbait.
It's so weird because you'll hear it from one or two places. You'll hear it misquoted, and then you will watch that misquote make it so much farther.
It's the telephone game.
It's bad. It's like gossipy little 13-year-old girls. It's fucking terrible.
Well, and nobody actually reads an article. Like, you actually, they just look at the headline and they go from there. Because ain't nobody got time for that. Like, seriously, come on.
Make time for that.
Like, this is the super fast culture that we live in. You got to get it in, quotable shit.
I can't even. So my start in this industry was writing industry reporting. I started on Movie Pilot, and then I had my own blogs for a bit, and I worked for Heroic Hollywood for like a week. I fucking hated it, and that was my big problem with it, is that it's all catered towards clickbait. And I think that the biggest thing, like when I left Heroic Hollywood, I was not happy with how they were running it and everything like that. But I think the biggest thing that really turned me against them, outside of the 1.5 million fan art posts that they do, where it's like, take a look at so and so in this role, and then you open it up and it's a really shitty rendering of fan art, was they were doing the Arrowverse Crisis of Infinite Earths, that Ezra Miller and Grant Gunston's Flash met in it, and like literally, like that was the title of the article, and then you opened the article and it was literally just that sentence, and then the synopsis of Crisis of Infinite Earths and where to watch it, and that was it. That was the entire article, and I just went, "Are you fucking serious?"
I've noticed a similar thing on some video game websites where, I'll do a bit where I'll be stuck on a game, and it's, I'll type in how to find the X and the Y, and you go to the article, and the article says the X and the Y is an object that many players wish to discover. To discover where to find the X and the Y, read on. The X and the Y comes from here, and the Y and you go through 4 or 5 pages of text before it actually tells you what you want to know. They can't just have like I'm doing the
Well, yeah, it's each click.
That's right. I'm doing the release date email for my upcoming campaign, and I've got the release date in the subject right there. I don't bury the lead. I don't have people scroll through pages and pages. I want them to find, hey, this is the day when you're going to be able to give me your money.
I'm actually
please be aware.
To give you information. Here it is.
You said you wanted this. I want you to have this. Let's make it happen. Don't hide it.
Well, you got to remember, we also live in the age of disinformation. Disinformation is just as prevalent as actual information anymore. Because
I mean, it always has been, but like it's just more prevalent now. Like we say, there used to be journalistic integrity, but like the big thing is that journalistic integrity started going out of the window in World War I. Like the whole sinking of the Lusitania was what got us into World War I, and that was an entire fucking press hatchet job to stir up shit. It wasn't like when historians are looking back at it now, it's like, like none of this shit.
So what
went
I'm
down
hearing
the way they
is
said
this
it did.
shit's always been going on, and now we actually have the tools to fucking catch it in the act.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Fake
the problem
news.
is, we also have. It's such an age of information. There's so much misinformation going out that it's impossible to catch all of it.
Well, the problem is that there's a lot of information and a lot of misinformation going out there, and the stuff that's getting filtered out and ignored is 9 times out of 10 information, and misinformation is the only thing going through.
Oh yeah, well
that's because misinformation sells. Sensationalism,
Yes, you are not wrong.
Outrage sells. Appealing to the prejudices of a certain group. I mean, it's obvious in internet traffic. You can pick it up, but you can. Well, I'm going to butcher the quote, but one of our somebody said you can appeal to a man's prejudices much more easily than you can to his logic.
Yes,
because
you are not.
Much more readily, willing to believe something bad about that dude over there because he looks shifty to me.
Right.
You know.
Well,
But look what happens when you do go against the outrage. When the outrage comes for you and you stand, look at Gina Carano. Look at one I thought of more recently was just while we're talking here, Quentin Tarantino. There's the bit there where somebody says, "Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is racist / istophobic because of these reasons." And he says, "You're wrong. It's my movie. You're wrong." That's all he said, and he moved on to the next question. There's a couple of articles about it, and it's been forgotten. They straight up said, "You this white man are istophobic because you made a movie with these things," and he said, "No, you're wrong," and he moved on to the next thing. You know, so you talk about, you know, it's easy to appeal to someone's prejudices rather than their logic. That's true, and you can even use that for yourself and go, "I'm going to appeal to people's prejudices against the cancel culture. Stand strong, stand tall, weather the slings and the arrows." I would posit that a big percentage of, and I'm going to go to him again as an example because he's somebody that we're all probably all familiar with, a big part of EVS's bank account comes from him being the front line of defense for people behind him. A lot of people see him as a frontline figure in the culture war, taking slings and arrows. He's out there making himself a target, regardless of whether you think the effectiveness of it.
The thing
you can dive right into that.
If you're gonna be honest about that though, EVS plays into the clickbait intentionally, and he does to his own benefit because he's basically every. Well, what I'm saying is every time somebody's trying to cancel him, he turns around with just as clickbaity of a piece of shit that he's going to put out as a video that he's going to maybe touch on for 5 minutes, but he's going to talk. I'll be damned if he don't talk for 5 fucking hours. Only 5 minutes of it's only going to be about that clickbaity shit.
Like,
you make a couple of grand in super chats.
That's all that matters. I mean,
monetize your haters.
He is a great example of taking all of that saltiness and turning it to his benefit, because he is very much an opportunist. He saw the fact that this is what was coming at him, and he was like, "Hey, if I make clickbaity shit, I'm gonna make money off of it. So fuck it, let's just do it."
Takes a forward thinker.
The
They
biggest
set up this shitty system. Might as well use it to, you know.
That's what I was going to say. They're not going to not come for you. They're not going to leave you alone. You can't say, "Oh, look, guys, can we just have a truce? I'll do my thing. You do your thing. I won't push back against you. You don't hassle me. I'll just make my little horror books." It won't happen. So if they're going to come for you, you may as well stand and weather the storm.
You ready for the best example of this shit? My little stalker that comes around every 2 to 6 months.
My little stalker.
My little stalker. That's how we refer to him at this point. It's my little stalker. He legitimately will go. He'll get pissy. Well, actually, I got a couple of them. They'll get real pissy, and then they'll come at our channel for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then they don't get a response, and then they disappear. And I'm Sai and I are sitting here just doing our thing, just whatever, everything's fine. And then out of the fucking blue, nothing will have happened. No comments on social media, nothing crazy that we did. Out of the blue, someone just goes, "I remember I don't like them very much." And that little fucking stalker comes right back. Like, they do not stop because they don't have anything of value in their lives. So this is it. This is where they define. This is where they define who they are. They can only define who they are by how much they can make someone else miserable, because they are so unhappy in their own existence and their own life. And the best part is, Sai and I, we don't even have a project. We literally, we have a fucking YouTube channel. That's what we have. And that's enough for them to be like, "Well, you know, Shay is homophobic." I'm like, "Sai's trans. Try again." Like, Shay's an e-thought, doesn't even like comics. And then I turn around to my 5 short boxes full and 200 plus backings of indie campaigns. I was like, "You're doing great, buddy. Keep going. I believe in you. Eventually you'll find something that'll stick."
Yeah. I actually just found out I had a couple of trolls.
I saw that. Who the hell hates you?
I don't know. I'm pretty impressed by it.
Hey, you must be doing something right, man.
I know, right? I take it as a badge of honor. I mean, I'm living rent free in somebody's head, and I barely know their names.
Favorite.
You know,
isn't it good?
I don't have any. I don't even have any haters yet. I got blocked by a mainstream artist for telling him his art looked good.
I saw that. That was
which literally had my jaw hit the floor. And then the only other thing was,
oh my god, they might cancel me for letting this person like my art.
That's what it would have been, isn't it? You're
Imagine
right.
being that goddamn fearful.
Holy shit! If someone cancels me because someone else likes me, like I quit. I'm done. I don't know how to live in this world anymore.
I straight up told him that the art he had looked fantastic, but that the layouts for the page didn't do his art
Oh my
justice.
god, I remember that. You were like, if you just did this with this panel and this panel, I mean, I think it would flow more smoothly. And
okay,
And he threw his
the
temper
world
tantrum
becomes
and
so
he blocked
sensitive
me.
that we cannot have constructive criticism. Like, I went to school for graphic design, all right? And when somebody brought something up for critique and everybody was like, oh, I like this, I like that, they're just like, no.
Tell me
We
what
are
you hate,
not
bitch.
here. Exactly. We are not here to make everybody feel good. We are here to make good design.
Yes.
Tell
What
me what you
doesn't work?
fucking hate about this thing.
What doesn't work? What is
What doesn't
failing
work?
right now? That's what I need to know. I don't need
Constructive
you to be like,
criticism.
this is the best thing I've ever seen. Every time
Luke?
I give any of my reading to any of my girlfriends, and they're like, oh, it's so good. And I'm like, oh, why do I go to you?
I work with editors. I work with like 3 editors, so that I know that I've got 3 perspectives on how I suck. You know.
Yes. How much do I suck?
And if any
do
of
I
those,
care?
Yeah.
In stereo.
And if all of them tell me that it's good, then I take it to my wife and daughter and let them critique it. And they will, if I'm here, they will bring me back down here.
Your daughter's like, Dad, this is really trite. And you're like, oh.
Damn it.
Like, oh,
I
geez,
love
I mean,
it.
I kind of, but all right,
Well,
fine.
the good news is, Michael, if you show up every day and work hard, you'll have haters too.
No, I do show up every day.
Hashtag goals.
I just stay out of drama shit, man. Like I think I'm close to getting some haters. There was a creator that was trying to talk shit on my campaign, The Embrace, because it was on Indiegogo, but I don't think they realized it was attached to me, and they were trying to dissuade people from signing up to it because it was on the Indiegogo platform and
I feel
not
like that's a
Kickstarter.
hater.
Because, I mean, Indiegogo is definitely not proven. Let's see. Because Indiegogo has
his whole thing was
not
that he
proven.
he had 0 of the campaigns that he backed on Indiegogo for Phil, and they were still doing other campaigns, and that was his gripe. And I was like, at the end of the day, it is not up to either Kickstarter or Indiegogo to fulfill a campaign. It is up to the specific creator. And so you coming on here and trying to dissuade somebody and get somebody to not get on board with this campaign for any other reason than my ability to fulfill, which, oh, by the way, I fulfilled my first book 3 months early, and we got Pyramid Gambit in this past week. I'm getting all those books sorted, and then the moment that I have the accessories come in this week, those will get sorted, and then I'll be shipping them out.
Right.
So,
Michael, can I just jump in and say, as much as I loved Elysium Fields, Pyramid Gambit is like a 300% step up. Like the increase in quality and complexity of the story, like, and how much I enjoyed it. Huge jump up, brother. Like, it's really clear that the first book sets some stuff up, and the second book is like, boom, here's stuff happening. Pay attention to this. So, congratulations on.
Dude,
not that there's anything wrong
so
with the
much.
first one, but the first one was what it was. And I thought, this setup, I want to see where the meat and potatoes is. This is the entree. You've delivered the main meal, and I was like, wow, this is like some Mortal Kombat Shang Tsung sort of stuff, just like big, complex, behind-the-scenes schemes and machinations in the middle of this tournament between mythical heroes throughout time, Achilles and Hercules fighting Gilgamesh, and it's really, really good stuff. I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to see where it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And if anyone here is a backer of Elysian Fields, I know that we're a little bit behind on the fulfillment because Marcelo hit some issues with the art back in November. His drawing table went down and he had to get a new one. But so what I did to sweeten the piles, if you guys check your email, you guys all have digital copies of both the Zero issue and Pyramid Gambit to hold you guys over, and that way your hard copies can serve as collector pieces that you don't even have to take out of the bag.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to get this monstrosity of comics and stuff to you. So
Yeah, that's fine. We said that we were going to link up. We're not that far apart.
I know.
That being said, I am at work. I have to go to another Rove, and on top of that, my phone is at 5% battery. So I am going to roll off.
You should,
dude,
yes.
Before I just disappear.
like that's the shitty thing is, so my phone is usually great with its battery power, but because of how shitty my reception is at where I work now, my phone literally kills its battery just trying to find signal. Like I had 100% battery when I came to work. No, I took
Also,
my
do
Wi-Fi
you
off,
need Bluetooth?
but it's still
What about
just
Bluetooth?
roaming for signal. Like I get 1 bar. Like I have 1.5 bars of signal right now.
Turn roaming off?
I'm still figuring. This is an iPhone. I got a different phone.
That's why.
Throw it out the window. Shoot it with a, use it like a.
No, I love.
get an
I
Android.
love it.
Oh.
I love the new phone because
I will
my
convince
I can't wait
you
for
and
Odin to
Greg
just
ditch
pop
the goddamn
off of
iPhone.
here because his phone died.
Odin, before your battery dies, tell Marcelo to stop having sex on his drawing table, then it won't break in the middle of the project.
I'll be sure to pass that
while drawing.
It's a life
Not
lesson.
built for that kind of weight.
All right, guys. I'll catch you all here in a bit. Great
See ya.
chatting. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of the video. And if I can pop on later before you guys roll out, I will do so.
Sounds
All right,
good.
take care,
Thank you
Michael.
very much, Odin.
Very much. Cheers.
Make sure that you
Take
sign
care,
up for the
brother.
Embrace.
Yes,
luncheon
please.
soon.
We're 25 signups away from 200, guys. 25.
Ooh. Very nice.
That's awesome,
Get us
man.
there.
I've
Get
read
it.
the script. I've read it. It's good. It's really like, especially if you're a parent, it really hits some stuff. Like it's going to bring up some stuff. There's some fairly heavy stuff going on here, but it's weaved through a Spider-Man / Darkhawk type coming of age young hero getting his powers sort of story. It's really good stuff. I'm impressed.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I really appreciate it. And Lee is the editor on that book. So, yeah, you're supporting both of us.
Nice.
Sign up.
Sign
All right,
up.
I'll catch you guys in a bit.
Bye,
See you,
Odin.
Later, brother.
So Pops had an interesting point that I personally appreciate, but because he used the word fuck, of course, it had to be approved. And I which is so funny because if you've watched 5 seconds of this show, you've heard me drop it 1,300 times.
Fuck.
So, right? He says telling anyone not to support someone is weak as fuck. Don't act like you have the right to spend someone else's money. This is one of the most important things that I think I've ever seen, and I've had situations where I've liked an artist and a writer who are at odds, right? Sure. Because that shit happens. People get working together on projects, and then people start having issues or whatever. And the thing that has determined how many fucks I give has been how the people present themselves. I've watched creators rail against other creators that they don't like because they got upset. I've watched people say, don't back this book or refund because they're screwing me over. And after watching that kind of shit, the only thing that I can, you're such an asshole. The only thing that I can do is look at that and go, not only am I not pulling my backing from that project, you're making me want to back it again simply because this attitude is what fucking killed mainstream. This idea of they said something mean or they did something mean to me, so everyone should boycott them is what killed half of mainstream, and the other half was they just got let go, and everybody else who came in towed whatever party line that they needed to tow to keep their jobs and said fuck it to all of the audience, the people that actually consume comics. And watching that kind of shit happen, there is nothing that will turn me away from a creator more than seeing that kind of attitude. The second I see it, it's like, man, the next time I see you on a project, I'm really going to have to think long and hard if I'm going to back it, because I don't want to support you.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, even people that Shay and I have a huge personal problem with, and who have a huge personal problem with us.
Oh, yeah.
We do not tell people not to back their books. We go out of our way to say, this is our experience with them. Do what you want. If the project looks good to you, if you're able to separate the art from the artist,
right?
Absolutely.
Back who you want.
Do what you want to. It is your money. We have no right to tell you what to do with your money.
Absolutely. we don't. You put your money where you want to put your money. Now, if you want to ask me if I think that someone's a good person, I'm not going to sugarcoat my experience with that person just to, try to just let things blow over. Like, if I've had a bad experience with somebody, I will say I've had a bad experience with them. It's called being a genuine individual.
Right.
But,
and if it has a bearing on your backing for the book, like, for instance, we've worked with them twice before, they've never actually successfully fulfilled the book, we may tell you that because that has a bearing on your investment of money.
Right.
That doesn't mean we're telling you not to back the book. We're telling you...
We're giving you the reasons why we won't back it.
Or we're giving you the reasons why you should ask questions.
When
Be-
I'm in the shop, and when
be
somebody asks me
thoughtful
my
with your
opinion on
wallet.
a book, I won't tell somebody not to pick something up if I think a story is stupid. Dark Knight's metal. But I will tell them the things that I find cool about it, and my opinion is, if you dig it, go fucking buy it.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, that's the beauty of actual diversity. See, we've got diversity of thought. You think Dark Knight's metal is cool. I think it's a 13-year-old Spurg dream. But that's not here or there.
Well, like a lot of people didn't like the New 52. Especially if you've been reading comics for a really long time. But
I remember a lot of people complained.
I came in.
I'm still complaining.
I came in at New 52. I got introduced to these characters because of New 52. And while I will say there were plenty of storylines, like, oh my gosh, Batwoman's storyline was just... It hit me in the brain with an ice pick. Like,
Kate Kane did nothing wrong.
I'm simply saying, like, you don't have to...
Mind-numbing?
It's one of those things where it's like, I don't... And it's... I know a lot of people, the first thing they want to say when you say something negative about Batwoman in New 52, it's like, it's because you have a problem with lesbians. I don't give a flying fuck if she's a lesbian, but why the hell is that the only personality trait she has in the entire fucking thing? Every time it turns around, it's like, it's because I'm a girl.
Not to have a good story?
She has that. She's Jewish, too.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so
Yeah, but she's like a self-hating
not
Jew
deserve,
in the book.
like genuine representation, or is it all just like this flash in a pan, hollow, like cardboard cutout of a person representation? Because that's fucking insulting.
Well, this generation.
Perfect, like an
I was
example
talking
for me,
about
like
this.
being a geek, like what is that awful show? Help me out here.
Big Bang Theory.
Thank you.
Yeah, I knew exactly
How did you know that?
It's not laughing with the nerds. It's laughing at the nerds. It's fucking blackface for nerds. And I will die on that hill. Like, fuck you, I will die on that hill.
And I
Gonna clip this clip in that.
watched a lot of Big Bang Theory.
Blackface for nerds. That's it. Luke, you're canceled.
You're
That's excellent.
That's
The
legit.
thing is, though, is the mainstream, they can't produce new characters because their art team just refuses to make new characters because they don't have any stake in the ownership of those characters.
Which
They have
brings
to.
us to the constant deconstruction. Oh, Jerry, there couldn't have been a better segue. So because they can't create new characters, but they have stories that don't canonically fit with the characters that they have, what do? They tear them down.
Retcon.
They rip them apart.
Deconstruct.
And there's a link to a video that Odin put in our chat, and it was phenomenal because this guy was talking about his little girl, and his little girl loves Legos, right? She loves to get out the Legos. She builds up crazy things, castles, unicorns, whatever the hell, and then she takes them apart and builds something new. She has a friend who doesn't understand how to build with Legos. He only understands how to destroy with Legos.
Mm-hmm.
So she'll build a castle, and he'll tear it to shreds. And then she's looking at him like, okay, now what? And he's like, well, I'm going to go home. And she's like, what the fuck? Like, you ripped apart my castle to leave? Like, what was the point in tearing down the castle if you're not going to do anything with it?
Destroy than it is to build.
It is. It's
Can I add to
significantly
that
easier.
analogy?
Gods create.
So he tears it down, she rebuilds it, but what if one of the Legos gets missing? It goes under the couch, or off to the side or something that Lego is missing, and then they rebuild it again, and there's just a little bit of something missing. They rebuild it again, and there's a little bit of something else missing. And that's what.
And then you
every
end
time.
up with completely neutered characters with no personality, nothing that differentiates them from anybody else. And these are superheroes. These are people who are supposed to be able to like fucking fly and shoot lasers, and instead they're gonna sit around a coffee house and they're gonna lament about the
Superheroes are supposed to be
world.
like the pinnacle. Ever since everybody decided they wanted to be fucking Alan Moore and Brian Michael Bendis together in one,
Why?
like everything's taken a fucking nosedive.
Why would
like
you?
nobody
Have you
has
guys-
a original thought in their head?
Have you guys seen Just Some Guy's video about how Watchmen basically destroyed modern superheroes? Like he puts all this stuff, he puts it all back, and he does a really good job of breaking down bit by bit about why Watchmen is the main precursor of this sort of thing. Like his other stuff, you could bring a bit of Dark Knight Returns and other things in there.
Right.
Brat Pack and stuff maybe, but he says, Alan Moore really did kick it off. Check it out if you get the chance. Like he's a clever guy and he's got good videos.
I love Just Some Guy.
Yeah.
He's
So
fucking
it's in,
spot on.
I said
But
probably
you know
about a year
what?
ago.
Even with that, I mean, the mid to late '80s, it was a phenomenal time in comics. I mean,
Dude,
with
Strike Force Morituri.
well, you know what? The original Crisis and kind of what DC did out of that Crisis was awesome. And because the whole point of that deconstruction was to bring cohesion to the universe, and it was to so I mean, the whole purpose behind it was, they realized, man, we've got all this years of history. How do we bring all this together and get everybody on one page? And I'll tell you, they did. I still love that. I still love that old Crisis. I love how
The original Crisis is great.
Oh, it's amazing. I love how they deconstructed and built back up Superman. I thought that was amazing. I loved the new Wonder Woman they brought back to the table.
Well,
but
it was also a way to reset power levels too.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
just kept escalating and escalating.
Yeah.
John, you got to remember that was back in a time when the creators that were doing this shit loved these characters.
That's
and they
where I
wanted
was
to
going,
tell
Luke.
Cool stories.
That's where I was going. I was
My
going
man.
with, at the end of the day, it's because you had people that loved the characters,
Yep.
and they were the ones that were reconstructing the characters for a purpose of sharing the love. Now, yeah, Watchmen did what it did, but you got to understand what Watchmen was doing. Yeah, it was a deconstruction of American heroes, but that wasn't meant to be what the whole industry became. That was just
Alan Moore even said that.
that was just a tome that for those of us that enjoy comics, we can kind of look at it almost like an Elseworlds and be like, okay, that was interesting,
Damn,
that was
it's
cool.
a good thing shit ain't like that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah. Cautionary tale.
Not to make comics like that, but to say like, here's another take, but thank goodness this is what it's really like.
Well, okay, so like a really good example of this in real life, right? Military person, I'm going to take it there. When you join the military, everyone gets deconstructed. And the reason for that is we are trying to rally an entire collection of people from different backgrounds, different denominations, ethnicities, fucking different levels of income that they grew up in. And you are trying to unite them all for one purpose, right? We all have to be on the same fucking page, because if all 5 of us are going to get put down into a foxhole, it doesn't matter if you grew up broke as fuck in some ghetto in Philly and if I was rich as shit living over in LA. At that point, we're all getting shot at. We're all going to die the same way if we don't come together, right?
Bullets don't discriminate.
So they
That's right.
they deconstruct you. They take you, and I watched people that used to go in, and I see fucking 17-year-olds like this, and every time I see them, I'm like, oh, please join the military. Please, for the love of all that is holy, join the military. Because they come up to you and they go, no T.I'd ever get in my face. If they got up here and started screaming at me, I'd lay them out. And I was like,
Right.
I remember you guys in Basic. I remember watching grown-ass men, taller than me, who looked big and burly and like they were going to take on the fucking world, crying, doing girl push-ups on their knees because they couldn't hack it anymore. I watched those people break. Because in Basic, you get someone like that, guess what? Everyone's in the suck together, because you know what does work? Group punishment. Because when everyone has to pay for you being an asshole, you either stop being an asshole or you get the fuck out real quick. because no one's got your back.
In my day, that was called a blanket party.
Beat your ass.
A blanket party.
Uh-huh.
Well, that was the funny thing is I remember we're sitting there. It was like day 2, right? And so I'm sitting there with 39 other women, and we're all dropped on our face doing push-ups with our brother flight, another 40 men. And while we're doing all these push-ups, they're counting them down, and they're counting them slow. They're doing 4 count. You gotta go 1, 2, 3, 1, 1. Like, it was fucking brutal. And they started counting them slower when they got down to where you were down. They would just hold it. And you were like, what the fuck? And they go, we're gonna stay like this till everyone gets up off their knees. And you watched every last one of the girls in my flight. We all started looking for what fucking bitch was sitting on her knees because we were gonna kick the shit out of her. And it was 2 dudes in our brother flight.
God damn it, fucking.
And so we're sitting here pushing. I see 2 guys in the back, and one of them starting to break and cry. And all you hear from 40 women is, "Get the fuck up! We are not pushing for your fucking pussy ass because you don't know how to do any fucking push-ups before you get into basic." And you watch this guy like, "Oh, I can't do it." We're like, "Get up off your knees!" And you see him finally push up, and we're like, "Do not drop to your knees again." And you just watch this dude, shaky arm, trying so hard not to. And you know what happened? That motherfucker ended up being one of the strongest in that entire flight. So you want to talk about deconstruction? If all we did was rag on him and then never gave him the tools to get back up, that dude's probably gonna like go crazy, find an armory, and we're all gonna have a problem. You know?
Isn't that whole fucking scene with Pyle in like
Full Metal
Jacket
a warning against that?
You can't just deconstruct. You have to build back up. If all you do is deconstruct, that's how you get the kids that are going on school shootings. That's how you get fucking Pyle that's like ready to just take everybody out. Because you have to build those characters back up. If you're deconstructing something, you're taking it to its rawest form. You're taking it to its most vulnerable, and no one can survive without any kind of shield. So you have to build it back
together when you're done. You can't just leave it open. It's like
open heart surgery you never close. Like he'll be fine, I'm sure.
Take bits out of it and just leave it, on the table and expect it to fucking work.
So I want to point out. Go ahead.
I think the common phrase is you have to tear them down to build them back up.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the
that's
clutch
what our
there
TI
is
said.
build back up. If you just leave the shit in pieces, and then the next person comes down and breaks those pieces down more, you ain't got nothing.
Yeah,
well, you're losing the plot. You're losing the thread.
So one of the things I thought was really interesting that I watched that didn't really click into place until we started talking about this, about how relevant it is. We used to get new TIs, right? So in order for you to be a TI, you'd have to go down, you'd have to be a TI in training, you'd have like a flight that would have a real TI that would be over you to make sure you don't fuck everything up. And then eventually you go and you get your brimmed hat. And your brimmed hat, that's like all right, you're a big boy now, you can handle this shit. So I watched someone who got his brimmed hat and a fucking power trip to go along with it. He lasted second day with his brim hat. He put his hand on the underside of a girl's personal drawer, which is a metal box that has all of your shit in it. He put his hand on the underside of it and he threw it up in the air. She had to dodge to keep from getting hit with it, which is a lawsuit because we're not in just yet, right? Like, we're real easy to kick out at that point. He threw it at her. He got kicked out of our dorm, and on his way out, he grabbed the edge of a bed and chucked it, hit another TI, a peer of his, and 2 trainees on his way out. I have never seen my TI that fucking pissed, and that dude lost his hat 2 days after having it. Because you can't have someone who's just going to deconstruct something that's already deconstructed. If you just keep doing that, it's going to break people. You're going to end up with a massive deficit. And he was doing so much damage that they were like, dude, we don't even know if you're going to stay in the military at this point. Like, we might just be kicking your ass out. And he'd been in for 10, 15 years. They were looking at, apparently you can't handle this job. You don't understand what it takes because you can't just break people.
You
I was
can't
gonna-
handle the truth.
I was going to point out something cool about your story with the other guy, the crybaby for the push-ups, right?
Yeah.
You said he became one of the strongest guys there. Okay. Now, I think there's something about that story. We want to know about the strongest guy there. That's the hero, right? Like, tell me about the hero. It's okay to deconstruct a character, and to show those weak moments, to show how they overcame those. Because honestly, especially when you're writing a protagonist, when you're writing a hero, the idea is that you can show the characteristics of that hero that the reader may have, but how they rise above being an average person. The problem with all these other deconstruction stories is it tries to take the hero and bring him back down here. When really what you're trying to do is you're trying to say, look, this is the hero. They were here. This is how they got there.
Right.
Show us that process. But they don't want to show that process because they themselves are down here, have never done the work to get up here. You know, so let me just tear down that. Yeah, let me just tear down this up here to get right here.
Crabs in a bucket, man. It's an age-old thing that we've talked about. Crabs in a bucket. Like, people are miserable. Well, I can't do that, so I got to tear somebody else down that's doing it. Like, who wants to live like that?
Well,
Like,
the other
what a
thing about
shallow, hollow
deconstruction,
existence.
especially these days, the other thing about deconstruction is that you see all these two-dimensional characters. It's because in this generation and a bit in the one before it, that's all they are the labels that they can generate for themselves. I'm this minority. I'm this flavor of LGBT. You know, don't look at my profile page on Twitter because it's the exact same fucking way. I'm ashamed to say. But the point is, you know, with my pronouns and all this shit. But the point is,
Your they thems.
yes. But the point is that is all that they are. That is their defining characteristic. They are nothing more than that. And so that when they deconstruct Superman and try to rebuild him, that is all that they focus on. And there's nothing else.
And that's what's so sad is because we're supposed to be believing that these characters are more than what we could ever be. Like these are the absolute best possible versions of anyone ever and then some. And for you to deconstruct him and to have him be somebody that I would be like, man, if you were my friend, I would bitch slap you daily. Like you would piss me off with as much as you whine and complain about everything, and you can't even overcome tying your fucking shoes without it being a whole dramatic thing.
Well, right,
Like,
and I think that's the difference between like a writer, like we were talking about earlier, an actual real writer with imagination who can step outside themselves and envision something greater, and somebody who is, you know, just journaling or something like that. Someone who can only observe what they see every day and write about that, rather than write about a greatness that people are trying to aspire to.
I was going to say it's a very egotistical thing that some of these writers do is they, I'm not going to name any names, but you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. When they try to make the character themselves, and so they deconstruct that character down to their level, because then they're their world, they're the hero. Like everyone should be like me because I'm a narcissist. And I think that I'm great. So Batman should be just like me. So I'm going to deconstruct Batman, and then I'm going to deconstruct him again, and then I'm going to go on to another character. I'm going to do the exact same thing, and I'm going to write the exact same storyline about the character's crappy wife and his crappy life and how, you know, all these things. And that's what they create because they're
do an
narcissists.
entire miniseries and fuck up a whole slew of characters and piss off an even bigger swath of the fandom. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
You know
I
who I'm
remember
talking
selling those. Thank you.
I think we got a batch of people who started out writing fan fiction and they just never evolved from that level of quote unquote writing. And that mentality of what would I do? Yeah, what would I do in that situation? Not what would the character do, but what would I do in that situation if I were in that skin?
But you also have to remember though, Sai, that these are characters that are owned by large organizations, and large organizations have cultures. So, you know, within, you know, this is it's a writing issue, but it's an organizational culture issue. As in, these are the kinds of people in that organization. If you're not like that, then you're not going, you know? And then
that's the kind of thing that gets rewarded.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that gets rewarded. The Gail Simones.
Exactly.
Well, everybody in our organization says it's good, so it's got to be good.
Hive mind.
You know, the sad thing is, I actually remember when Gail Simone was, a competent writer and was actually hungry to tell a good story.
Well, EVS even talked about her, how she used to be a good writer, that she was shit at deadlines, but how she was a decent writer and an okay person at the time, and how it just degenerated. Her.
Well, she got a
degenerated
taste
over
of
time.
the outrage with the whole women in refrigerators thing. Like, listen, I've been reading comics since I was 3 fucking years old. I never heard about women in refrigerators until that bitch said something about it, alright?
Wait, that's an option?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not reading the same comics she is, but, I don't know how that can be a trope if somebody who's been reading comics for most of their fucking life has never seen it happen.
Again, this goes back to a lot of misinformation, is because people say it exists, therefore it must exist. And, I think that Sai's really onto something. I think that there's a huge difference between writers and people who enjoy journaling. Like, I think that a lot of these people kept journals and felt that, if only people could see, and it's so sad that I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because this is something that I used to feel when I was a kid. Keep a journal, and if only people could read what I was writing, and if only people understood what my thoughts were, I bet a lot of people would feel this way. And this is when I was being an emo little 13-year-old girl, right? But I think a lot of these people never got a re-vector or a wake-up call or an understanding that, like, you being, dark and gritty and all this kind of shit all the time isn't a personality. That it's not how people should feel in their day-to-day. And if that's what you're going through, there's probably something not right. There's probably something that isn't quite lining up where it should. And it doesn't mean that you're broken. It means that there's something that should be looked at. But instead, what they're doing is they're doing these self-inserts, and they're taking all of those journal entries from their little angsty teen years, and they're making this what all of the superheroes do now. And no superhero is capable of adult think, because the people who are responsible for writing their stories are stuck in their teens.
Well, it's kind of like
that
the
makes a
13-year-old
lot of sense with some of the dumb shit I've read.
Right?
It's like the 13-year-old who makes the journal entry but then leaves the journal intentionally where somebody can find it.
Yes! Oh my gosh, girls!
Everybody reads this.
They do it all the time, and they're like, I can't believe you'd read my innermost thoughts like that. And it's like, you left it on your desk with a pen underneath the latest entry for me to see.
Hey, when you were a child, you talked like a child, you thought like a child, you reasoned like a child. When you grew up, you put away childish things.
A lot of it.
Right?
But you have to grow up.
But you got to grow up.
You got to grow up.
There is that.
Well, to go to Stato's point, Superman is about hope and optimism and the best parts of us. The light that shines the way towards the people that humanity could be. I haven't seen that in a long, long time out of someone portraying Superman.
That's because we're fixated on dystopia.
Capo got a little close, but he got close on accident.
Well, and there was a conversation I was having. I don't remember, probably with Luke, to be perfectly honest. Usually, if it has to do with some kind of comic something, it's usually with Death Metal Hero. But one of the things that I kind of was noticing is that for a lot of our storytelling, it mimics the opposite of what we're experiencing. And so when we're not constantly for fear of our lives because we're not being bombed, or we're not actively in a war that has very real ramifications that the entire nation is feeling. Like, let's be real. The war on terror and all the shit that went on after 9/11, 9/11, everyone needed hope. After 9/11, people forgot. Like, we literally have something called Red Friday, which is where you're supposed to wear red to remember every deployed, right? because it's something that people legitimately have forgotten. We still have people that are in foreign countries because it's not something we're dealing with every day. The average Joe isn't having to worry about the people that are chilling in Afghanistan, Iraq, or wherever the fuck to try and make sure that they're defending something for us back here, because we're not being bombed. We're not seeing, you know, all of our resources get taken down to help the war effort like it was in World War I and World War II, when we needed hope. When everybody felt it. Food was getting scarce, the depression, like all this kind of shit that was hitting. People needed hope. We're not feeling it in the same way, because right now, everyone who is noticing that we're getting dangerously close to that kind of shit again, for every one of those, there's 5 people spurging out on the internet about how we're all just bigots and assholes, and the only reason that we feel like we're there is because we're the problem. And so it's a divide.
Witch trials, the fucking Spanish goddamn Inquisition. It's the same fucking vibe. Like, the Red Scare, you're a fucking commie in the 50s. Like, it's the same thing. Accuse your neighbor of something so you look more virtuous.
Right.
Like, oh, look what they did so you don't look at me because I'm terrified you might find the skeletons hidden under my porch. Like, it's...
Who told you about the skeletons?
It's bullshit. I always know about that.
Stone's like, told you that in confidence, other Luke. I thought that we were cousins. We don't talk about it in polite society.
What happens in Florida stays in Florida.
That's the truth.
But no, I think that there's a lot that to be said for that, is because if you look at when comics were the most hopeful, it was when the entire nation was feeling
comics were
the squeeze.
Superhero comics. Superheroes was born out of, you know, the desire, the need for hope. Captain America was born out of the need for hope for our troops. Like, a lot of those comics went overseas to, you know, rally the troops, to bolster the troops, to give them hope. To, you know, aside from their girl that they're fighting for at home, you know, it's something to inspire them. That's why Superman and Captain America were fucking made, you know?
Well, and
to inspire these guys to fight.
It was something that unified the nation, because of the people that were staying back home that were reading these stories were like, fuck yeah, we're gonna win. Because we can't let that evil stand, and our people are over there fighting for that. And so the fact that I have to, you know, stand in line to go and get some bread this week, I'm okay with that. If it means that it's going to help this over here. Or I will quit whatever stay-at-home wife thing I was doing to go and you know, do some hard labor hammering in fucking rivets on a plane.
Right?
So
Rose of the River
that
was
can
born
get
out of
where
the
it needs to
same
go.
Era. Exactly.
But that's it was a combining effort. Right now, there's... Why?
Because I hear you chewing. While you're trying to make a point, I hear you chewing.
Right now.
Because you're chewing.
Asshole. Stop it! No, but right now, we don't have anything that's unifying us. Because half of us disagree with the other half. And
we did have something for a minute, okay? Let's not forget the Tiger King. Like, we had that for a moment, right? And we were all in unity for a moment. We all knew that Carol Baskin
was like a made-up thing. I thought that was like a made-up, like, reality TV thing. Like, oh, this is funny. You know, like, there was a story. No, these are real fucking people.
Yeah.
What?
You can't write this stuff, right? But for a moment, we all agreed
Stranger things in heaven and earth, my friend.
Right, yeah. But we all agreed that Carol Baskins down in Tampa, Florida, fed her husband to a freaking tiger. We all agreed on that.
Fucking bastards.
Tigers gotta eat too, man.
But and you know, so obviously we got Lee, who's not American, but it's this. I feel like it's the same kind of sentiment. You know, you guys are kind of at least somewhat in that same sort of vein. And when the vast majority of these books are being produced in a country that is currently trying to eat their own. Luke just died, by the way.
Rest in power.
You just died. Read the damn chat.
No.
I already showed what I was eating, you fucking hoe bag. It was all pink Starburst. Gosh dang it. You don't pay attention to your own show.
I didn't know you could get bags of just the one color. That must be an American thing.
It is.
You
They
can't
just
get
started
that
doing
here.
it.
No,
It's
hasn't made it down here yet.
It's only
It's
available
the-
to the elite.
Unfortunately, down there, you haven't really experienced true freedom yet.
Fucking Starburst racist.
That's what true freedom looks like here. Is you can buy a bag of all one color of Starburst. That's
Didn't
no,
you guys
you
have?
guys keep
Didn't you
saying
guys
all
have
one cover.
white M&Ms or white Skittles? They talk about that for racist. Let's get rid of all colors and make all Skittles white. That was the optics on that weren't good.
I mean, color wise, that is the what is it?
I'm pretty
That's
sure
the
that
absence
was-
of or no.
It's all colors.
Absence of color? All colors. Yeah, all colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect unifying color. All colors in the color spectrum. See?
I was gonna say I was pretty sure that was a mystery, like mystery Skittles, and you had to try and guess what the flavor was. And I don't think that they ever told us.
It's like Birdie bots every flavored beans or whatever. Earwax. Mm.
Oh, those are terrible. The bamboozled beans. Like, don't do that to people.
You know some
Unhinged-
people would buy the earwax ones. You've seen some people picking a winner before. Like that's not new.
Yeah.
There'll be somebody who'd be just low key, put a bag of those into the trolley and keep going.
Dumbledore seemed pretty happy with earwax.
Gross. Unhinged, thank you for the $2. It says, seeing if this sends, it looks like it has been fixed for you, sir, which is awesome.
Soda.
Soon they will all be red. China's coming.
I like red flavor.
I do
too.
They actually have. So it's funny that you say that, Phil. They have an all reds. It's just 3 different red flavors. This is the only bag that is all literally one flavor. I'm just saying.
So wait, what is pink? Is it strawberry?
Yes.
Ostensibly.
Strawberries aren't pink.
Usually.
no, they're not.
It doesn't
And
matter.
strawberry flavored
Cherry's usually
doesn't
like
taste like strawberry.
red.
Strawberry doesn't taste like strawberry. You got a point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I was gonna say.
look at like other strawberry, like little strawberry wafers. They're totally just pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Pink sugar.
cherry is usually like
Pink has been
So
the
wait.
approved color for strawberry because cherry was first the flavor, and cherry
yeah,
already
hold on.
claimed the color red.
You're using another
sure.
product to defend a product's color being incorrect to the fruit
I'm
from
No,
which
no,
it
no,
was
no.
derived.
Historically speaking, because cherry was the first flavor on the market, cherry took down the red color, and everybody
There can be more than one red.
Everybody agreed cherry
Why are you
was
gonna
red, which
confuse
meant
the
when
populace
strawberry
like
came on
that?
the scene, it had to be a different color, so it was pink.
And
Look,
also with
Strawberry
strawberry
ice cream.
flavoring, if you put strawberry flavoring in milk, it might be red when it comes out, but it's pink by the time you finish mixing it into the milk.
Boom!
You can't
that's
make
milk.
red milk. Yes,
I mean,
strawberry
to be
flavoring
fair,
in
it's
milk.
because you're mixing red and white, but yes,
I
That's like
that
saying-
is
to say that there's a precedent for the color.
yes.
That's like saying if you put chocolate in milk, it becomes tan.
No, because it's still
I
brown.
don't know
Pink's
how
not
much
red.
chocolate you putting in your milk, but my chocolate milk's not tan.
It's not. Yeah.
Not if you're doing it right.
My chocolate milk is
I'm
brown.
gonna do chocolate milk. It's gonna be chocolate.
It's brown. I mean, it's like
Very
Wow.
much.
You're not
It's
doing
super brown.
chocolate milk. You're doing chocolate with a little shot of milk.
This
So
is
we're talking
the-
Okay,
colors or
and
So, are we here to judge my milk habits, or are we
Yeah.
here to talk about writing?
Yes, we can do both.
Oh my gosh, I love you guys.
I'm just saying, I happen to have this lovely bouquet of strawberries over here, and they are not pink.
But if you mix them with milk, what color do they become?
I'm not dipping chocolate-covered strawberries in milk.
as
Just
you
like-
look
Why would
at
you buy
the strawberry,
chocolate-covered
you cut-
strawberries?
Listen, if you cut
Way to ruin a
strawberry
good
in
batch of
half
strawberries.
and you look at the color red as it goes
chocolate
towards
covered
the center, it certainly does.
I don't eat
become
chocolate.
Pink.
They were a gift.
Just saying.
So,
Did you
that-
just say
That's
you
a
don't
bad
eat
gift.
chocolate?
I do not eat chocolate.
Where's the kick button?
I don't eat pizza.
Cancel,
the other kick
cancel
button?
for not liking
We're not
chocolate.
kicking him. He's coming on the
Yeah.
show later for Company Men.
I'm
seems
I'm
like such
kicking
a
both
nice
of
guy.
them.
That's terrible.
I was going to say
Stop.
the last good Superman story I read was Secret Origin by Gary Frank and who's his partner in crime that he almost always writes with? Is it Jeff Johns?
Usually. That's
And
who
that
we did
was-
Doomsday Clock with.
Yeah, so that was this huge thing about hope. About if you remember it, Lex Luthor was out on the balcony and he'd make people come and basically bow down to him in the streets and beg. He said, well, I'll help. I'm a billionaire. I'll help one person per day. My kid's got cancer. I need this. I need that. And he'd pick one person. They'd come to him every day and beseech his help. They'd beg him. And after Superman turns up, at the end of the book, Lex goes out onto his balcony, look down upon the people who've come to petition him, and there's nobody there. Because Superman gave them all hope again. And they didn't come to him. They didn't need his help anymore. They were self-made from that point on. They were able to stand on their own 2 feet. They weren't relying on handouts. I maintain that's one of the best Superman stories I've ever read. It's got to be probably 10, 15 years old by now. I'm sure I read it at my friend Briggs's place, and he died a couple of years ago. So that's got to be at least 10 years ago now that that story come out. So that's how long it's been since I've seen a really good, really hopeful Superman story. And the sad thing about that is that was non-continuity. It had to happen outside of the mainstream DC universe. The Secret Origin story has got Legion of Superhero type stuff. It's not part of your New 52, what's become Superman now. So they couldn't even do an in-continuity Superman story that had hope as the theme. Is it possible that the world?
I mean, isn't that what this symbol on his chest is supposed to symbolize? And
It's S-Man, bitch.
S-Man, yeah, exactly.
So I was going to say, is the world too cynical for what Superman brings? But I don't think they are, because if you asked 100 people who's your favorite character in Avengers, I reckon it's probably a 50-50 split between Iron Man and Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like Iron Man because he's self-made, he's snarky, he's that, like, you know, take away the suit, what are you, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist? Like, they love that shit. But Captain America, he's the one that stood up when Loki first turned up. He's the one with the shield. He's the one who protects. He's the one who does the right thing. In Civil War, he did what he thought was right, and you can come down either side of that argument, but he did what he thought was right, and he's got agency. You know, he's got the ability to do that.
Captain America's always been the American spirit, like I'm going to do what's right, even if everybody else around me is not.
So even if you got Endgame, and I haven't seen I haven't seen Infinity. Is it Infinity War? I haven't seen Infinity War and Endgame. I sort of dipped out before that happened. I haven't seen Black Panther either.
Same.
When that stuff was all happening, and you can see, I've seen screenshots of everybody's covered in dust. Everything's grey. It's the most grim, gritty, awful. Everybody's died and disappeared. And then you got Captain America with Thor's hammer shooting lightning and knocking out Thanos. Like, he's still standing up and doing what's right. He's still standing up to the bully. So I still think there's a place for all of that. I think people will always respond to that sort of thing. I'm not big on anime or manga, but I think some of those themes cross over there. Like, talk about the rise and popularity of anime and manga. There's this whole stand up to bullies, have agency, be a self-made man. I mean, isn't all that? I might be using the wrong words here because I'm so boom when it comes to manga, like shonen type stuff, like believe in yourself, believe in your friends. My power comes from the belief my friends have in me. That sort of thing. You know, like the power of friendship. There's all these memes making fun of it, but I think that's a real thing in that. In the culture of manga and anime, there's definitely room for that. But the big industries we've been talking about won't let that happen. They don't want us to have hope. They don't want us to have these stories either because it's too hard for them to write it, or they don't want us to come together under that banner. They want to keep us divided, and how better to keep us divided is to make it all identity politics that half the people hate, half the people love. Dividing the world into 2 tribes. 3 tribes would be too difficult. You know, because then one tribe will join the other, and you're outnumbered. It's 2/3 to 1/3, and one side will eventually win. Keep them 2 perfectly equal tribes. You know, half the country voted for Trump, the other half didn't, and so you got 2 tribes that are going to constantly war with each other. They're just perpetuating this.
Well, it would certainly explain why everybody's argument against third party.
And all the same people stay in power. They just change hats. So, really quickly, I want to point out something that happened in the chat. So we have this. We have Stato.
Thank you,
we have Silvar riding with the knowledge. And Silvar coming in for the death punch here. So I would just like to point out that Silvar is correct. Edible Arrangements does have chocolate dipped strawberries arranged as roses, and it does not take a guy to get them for you.
So another thing that I wanted to point out that Stato had said, and the big reason I want to point it out.
Yeah, very subtle.
Smooth.
You keep on trying to interject love into this Valentine's Day, and I feel like we all agreed that that's not happening. So
love has no place in Valentine's Day. Okay.
No.
I mean, St. Valentine's got his head lopped off. If that tells you anything. So.
Why? Okay. So Stato brings up Action Comics 775. I am not versed enough in comics to know what that is in reference to. Any
Is that the Elite?
Any of the panel members know? I don't.
What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way? Is that the Elite issue with Manchester Black? Possibly.
Maybe. I think we're gonna have to wait for Stato to clarify.
I could have Googled this shit by now. Hold on.
Yes, on the Chromebook, you should totally Google things.
Google, man.
I don't really DC. It's got to take something like, real sparkly to get me to read a DC book, I'll be honest.
I hear you typing. Don't you fucking do it.
The only DC I really read is like.
I'm just saying. I think that Lee might be onto something.
What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, okay. So, have you guys read that issue or seen the animated?
I have not.
Movie? All right.
Nope.
I found it a bit contentious because everybody held it up and lauded like it was this fantastic bit of literature, and it was good and it had impact, but I kind of felt like they flubbed the landing. I'm not sure it really had the. I expected something, and it's not fair to compare it to something like Kingdom Come, but Kingdom Come's got such a big, finite, clear ending. Whereas I think what's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way tends to have more of a broader, more open, how you want to see it sort of mentality. So it's the one where the elite turn up. There's this group of superheroes, superpowered metahumans, and they start killing off villains. They start taking really drastic action, doing what Superman won't. And so just the one issue. It's self-contained. It's really good. It's worth picking up. I mean, just not saying you should pirate it, but just pirate it. Sail the high seas and check it out because it's definitely worth. Or you can watch the animated version. It's really good as well. And they're challenging Superman. Why don't you kill? Why don't you take that final step? Why don't you do what people are unable to do themselves? And it sort of crosses over into stuff that was again touched on in Kingdom Come, with Superman saying, Superman saying, "I'm not here to make decisions for you guys. I'm just here to give you hope." And it also blows over into what Grant Morrison did in the first 4 Justice League issues with the Hyper Clan, where they turn up and they terraform all the deserts of Earth and create orchards of fruit trees and all sorts of stuff. And once they go, that all crumbles and falls away. Like the idea being that the superheroes can't do for mankind what mankind must do for themselves. What's so funny about Truth, Justice, and the American Way, they're trying to kill Superman, and they've all got powers that make them able to actually hurt him. You've got Cold Cast, who can absorb and redirect energy, so he's able to like suck the solar energy out of Superman or hit him with a big blast of red solar energy, which like negates his powers to a degree. You've got a guy called the Hat, who's like this mystic Chinese bloke who's got this magic hat. Of course, magic hurts Superman. You got Manchester Black, who's got like psychic powers, so he's able to attack Superman's mind. So they've all got powers that are specifically designed to attack Superman, and they all rally together to bring him down. And they try to push him to the point where he's going to fight back and he's going to kill somebody. And it's kind of a story that's been done so many times. We saw it with Hush, where Jason Todd tried to push Batman to killing Joker, and Batman managed to find a way out. And right at the end, Superman says, I'm going to unlock my true potential. I'm going to use 100% of my powers, and he completely dissembles the elite in a few short panels. He just makes a joke out of them, and it's just him and Manchester Black then. And Manchester Black says, "All right, you went further. You went more violent. You went tougher and harder than you've ever been. You were ruthless. You used your powers to hide and attack from a distance. You didn't stand up here like a big shield protecting people like you normally do. So we got to you, but you still haven't killed. And I'm not going to stop until you kill someone. I'm not going to stop until you cross that line. And if you won't, I'll kill you myself." And Superman says, "You'll never make me cross that line, and you're not strong enough to kill me." And Manchester says, "Well, I got psychic powers. I'll just tell your brain to shut off." And Superman said, "That's great, but I used heat vision to lobotomize you 5 seconds ago. I used your eye as a lens."
There was an animated movie that adapted that.
Yeah, I mentioned that a few times. It's really good. It's as good as...
he goes right through his retina as like the focusing lens for his heat vision, and fucking just zaps one little tiny part of his brain, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, and but looking at that, and it's kind of like what Stat was saying, is that, it's an argument against deconstructing Superman. Like, you don't have to break down and make him, have like all of these horribly weak moments, because Superman, where else is he gonna go? He doesn't have another home. This is his home. And so his fighting and doing what he can for all of humanity is like he doesn't have anywhere else. So why wouldn't he fight for that if he has the ability to? And it can be just as pure and simple as that. It doesn't have to be some big, like, oh, I lost my planet and that was so hard. Like, he was a baby. He doesn't remember it. He doesn't, he's not like Supergirl. Supergirl having that kind of a breakdown and having a much harder time relating to humanity makes a lot more sense. She was a lot older when she ended up having to flee. She was a lot older when she ended up coming down to humanity, and she was a lot more jaded because she saw what other civilizations can do. You know, so she didn't have this kind of naivete that Superman kind of grew up with. And that's a great place for them to have odds, but it's like what we were saying. If every single character is constantly going through this like emo Peter Parker battle with themselves, so fucking help me if I ever hear another thing about Peter Parker and I didn't ask for these powers, I'm gonna jump off a bridge. I cannot stand Peter Parker because of how many times they broke his ass and he just became a whiny sniveling little shithead for however many books before finally he was like, well, I guess someone's got to do it. And it's like, oh, good fuck. It finally, like, holy shit. It only took
for the 8th time.
Like, can you stop having a crisis? Please go to a therapist. Work through your shit. I know Uncle Ben died. You poor thing. Get the fuck over it, okay?
Wait, the guy who makes the rice died?
Yes, just recently.
Horribly.
Probably the worst thing.
Damn it.
Is that when he first started out, once he got over that initial bit of my uncle died and I need to be responsible, Peter loved having superpowers. For the first 20 or 30 issues, like when Dicto was working on it early on, like he loved being strong. He loved having the powers. And he would be at school seething, going, you guys, he should have been a supervillain. You guys don't know my true power. Here you are, Flash Thompson. I've got to let you push me around. I can lift a Buick over my head with one hand, son. Basketball ain't shit. But he had to keep his power levels down, you know. There was a time when he had, they do Peter Parker wrong. He should be so overjoyed to have his powers. You should see him yahooing while he's doing backflips. And so much of like McFarlane and stuff was him like doing backflips or web spinning and slinging across the city going, I love having these powers. Embracing it, yeah.
Yep.
He's just so happy to have them. And the Peter Parker I like best was the Peter Parker who was married to Mary Jane and found out they were having a child. And he's doing backflips in joy. And now at that time, he was hit with this virus that was going to kill him, and nobody could cure it. Dr. Octopus ended up curing it because he said, "You're such a good man. You bring me to be a better man. Without you to be my nemesis, I've got no point going on. So I'm going to abandon everything I've got. I'm going to pull my resources into curing you, Spider-Man. I'll find out your identity. I'm not even going to use it against you in the future because all I want is you to be there. If there's not you balancing the awful of me, what's the point of this whole world? There's got to be something to match the darkness in me."
It'd be too easy.
Yeah. Or even
storyline, right?
Even a lack of hope as well.
Right?
It could have been. It's an amazing spot. Well, it was started Amazing Spider-Man, went to Spectacular. It's back when they're doing it in like Amazing and Spectacular shared a story, and then Web and Spider-Man shared a story back and forward month to month.
That was back when they were still trying to weave in like Ben Reilly and
just the start of that.
Different,
Well,
all right, I remember that.
And so
I was getting it in the mail.
Yeah, it's really good stuff.
What you were kind of saying there is this whole like I need your goodness to balance out my evil. That's the same thing that happens with a lot of like the Riddler and Batman is constantly like I need you to get these. Like I need you to understand these, and I'm like
there's a codependence there.
It's not even about him being cocky, thinking that he's going to get away with it. It's that he craves that kind of balance. And so he's constantly baiting Batman and giving him the key to his own downfall. And basically just saying, I'm leaving it up to chance. Let's see if you catch me in time. And there's so many times where if he just didn't do the riddle, if he just didn't leave that little clue, like the likelihood that he would have succeeded would have been so much greater. But he always had to leave a clue because he craves that balance. That's one of his things.
I like to think that if he didn't have the personality that has to leave a riddle, he wouldn't necessarily be that brilliant. Like his brilliance comes with the brokenness of needing to leave the riddle. You know, like
it's the same thing with Two-Face.
Yep.
And it's the same thing.
In D&D.
Well,
You gotta-
yeah,
you gotta
Two-Face
take a
needs to
fall
balance.
for-
Yeah.
But you see the same thing in like Batman the Animated Series from like the 80s, 90s?
So good.
In the Joker.
Yeah. Bruce Timm. Bruce
A-
Timm
anytime-
and Paul Dini.
And anytime you would
abso-fucking-lutely.
see like Batman out of commission or something like that, Joker would just be like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, I
How
guess I
many
have to
times
wait
was
now.
Joker like, nah, it's off tonight. Batman's sick. Like, he got a hangnail. We
Yeah.
can't do it tonight, guys.
We'll come back tomorrow.
We don't have anyone
so
to foil our plans, so
Right?
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
well, and there were so many times where people were like, why would you not strike now? And Joker would get literally like, I will murder you where you stand because Batman isn't here. So we're not doing it. Understood. And it's like,
Or like someone else hurt
crazy.
Batman. You could
Yeah.
finish him off. No, this has to be my show.
Yes.
I really like that bit where he says to Harley, "If I have to explain the joke, it's not funny." You know?
Yeah.
You've seen that one?
Exactly.
And that's exactly how it is. It's if it's not for the pageantry, it's not for the show. There's another bit where a guy says, "You're the Joker. You're going to kill me," and Joker says, "Why would I kill you? There's nothing funny in that."
Right.
It wouldn't make anybody laugh. So there's no point killing you. Like, it's got to be funny to him. It's got to work within the way he's got it framed. I actually really like the way they've got this sort of, and I think it's overused, but I like the way that you were saying before, like Joker's almost even protective of Batman to the point where he would take out someone who's trying to take out Batman.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
almost reciprocated as well. If somebody paid Deadshot to kill Joker, do you not think Batman would stop Deadshot? Of course he would.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
Which is why-
but that's exactly because Joker does stop Deadshot, doesn't he? I swear that happened.
I wouldn't be
It might have been in
surprised.
the game. But like I know that there has been a storyline that has been kind of pursued, and it most likely was in the game, where Deadshot is trying to kill Batman because he got paid.
Yeah,
and
It sounds like Arkham
he goes where the
Knight.
paycheck is, and so then the Joker's like, bitch, like, no, that's my guy. Like, go
Yeah.
find a different guy. And he's like, no, but I got paid. He's like, no, like, you go somewhere else or I'll kill you. Like,
It's like the one
leave
little
him alone.
skein of wholesomeness in all of the Joker. It's just one little, it's kind of cute in a way. I don't know if you guys have seen Epic Rap Battles, and there's one with Joker versus Pennywise, and when Pennywise says he's going to go back in time and kill Batman when he's a boy, Joker loses it. And his whole verse is about all the horrible things he'll do to Pennywise if he dares touch his bat. He says, "You keep your hands off my bat." There's like it's not even like psychosexual or anything. It's just this.
no.
It goes beyond that. It's kind of like when you've got
codependent to
It's
the
what
nth
Robin
degree.
has said.
yeah.
I'm doing it also, Senpai will notice me.
Yeah.
It's 1,000%. Like, Joker wants, and I think that Joker wants to see, because he knows that he can break people. He's magnificent at breaking people. He broke Harleen, like, in the most fucking brutal of ways. He took an incredibly brilliant, well-skilled, highly acclaimed psychiatrist and broke her to be his lapdog. Like, literally cannot function without him. Follows him everywhere. Oh my gosh, Mr. J, I just need you in my life. And he was like, man, that was too easy. And so now he's trying to see how much
You're
can
supposed
I
to be a
break
brilliant
Batman.
mind too.
Yeah, and
You know?
and so he wants to see if he can break Batman. And I think that his line is he wants to see if he can break Batman
It's
to kill.
Holmes versus Moriarty, you know, but
Yeah, but-
like twisted with a little bit of psychosis.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
with Joker, he does have a code to it. Because
Oh,
the
yeah.
things that he's not going to do, I mean, he's probably could figure out who Batman was 10 times over. He's not going to do that.
I like that
There's-
idea. I've always
there's a-
thought that he knew. I always thought that he knew.
He probably does. I agree.
It'd
I
be
agree.
too easy. I could walk into Wayne Manor and put a bullet in his head while he's asleep. That's too easy. I wouldn't be killing Batman. I'd be killing Bruce Wayne. That's no fun.
Right.
But
Well,
he won't even leverage the fact that he's.
Where's the
That's
joke
right.
in that?
It's not funny. It'd be beneath
There
it. I'm
is
going
no
to
joke in
blackmail
that. Funny.
you. There's no punchline to blackmail. That's just so seedy and sordid. What I'm going to do is get some fish. You know, and expose them to the Joker gas, and they're gonna have clown faces. Okay, this is the start of my plan. Then we're gonna go to the. Where the clownfish? I don't know where that come from. Clownfish. I just got that.
But I mean, that seriously though, that's the kind of shit that he did. Like, he loved his fucking like chattering teeth bombs and shit because he's like, yeah, because it's a kid's toy. Except that shit blows up, you're gonna lose an arm, and it's like, that's fucking dark. What is wrong with you? And he goes, it's funny.
I do like that
It's
about
funny.
the movie Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, where he's laughing and he's like, you wouldn't get the joke, like, because that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
These things that Joker does, it in his head, there's a certain irony and humor to it, and so that's what compels him. And the fun part is the theater. That's why he doesn't, divulge his own identity, because it's like, no, I get it. This is we're putting on a show for Gotham. Like, I'm the villain and I need the hero.
Kayfabe.
Yeah.
Yes.
I need Batman for this.
Well, and if Batman ever disappears, Joker loses all purpose.
I was gonna cite the Dark Knight Returns version where Joker's in the asylum. He's got green hair, no face paint, and he's just sitting there kind of catatonic all day for 20 years. And he's like, oh, this patient, he's never said a word for 20 years. He just sits there. We wipe his ass and we feed him food, and he's nothing. He's boring. Don't even worry about him. Mm-hmm. The second there's even a flash of the bat symbol on the news saying it looks like Batman's returned, what happens? It's such a perfect way to end an issue. His mouth twitches. He smiles. He starts laughing, and he doesn't stop. There's no better representation. I think this is a 30-year-old representation. This is nearly around before I was born. And there's this version of Joker that shows perfectly how he's so codependent on Batman. I just don't know if the people who... I don't know what its place is in today's comics and today's writing. I think they want to push it into these cynical, almost sexual sort of tones when it's beyond that. I wanted to say earlier, it's like when you've got two guys on a battlefield or more, two guys on a battlefield that have got that brotherhood bond, and then they're willing to fight alongside one each other and die alongside one another, to the point where they even leave their wife and kids behind because one says, I've got to go to war, you've got to come with me, like we've got to finish this battle, whatever it is, whether it's against a supervillain or whether it's against some great tyrant. They're willing to leave behind everything and go and die for this other guy. And people always want to ship characters together and make it sexual. Like all this, you see all this fan art of Bucky and Falcon and Captain America getting it on. It's like, why can't there just be brotherly love? Why can't it be, I would die for that man, he's my brother in action, if not in blood? Why do they have to take it to that place? I don't think you can have the relationship Batman and Joker has without having that unfortunate slant on it today, because people want to push that point.
Connection. They have no physical connection themselves, so they have to project it upon fictional characters.
This comes right back to what you were saying earlier about they have no identity, so they're what they've got in their bio is their identity. And I say in my writing videos very often, don't take criticism about your work as criticism of yourself, because you are not your work. Your work is something you've created. And maybe you can say, oh, my value as a writer is determined about how people interact with my work. There's some validity there. But if someone says your work is garbage, it doesn't mean that you're garbage. And this comes back down to original point. If somebody says you wrote about this... No, you shouldn't, but people do. People put their whole identity in their work, in their, they don't have something else. They haven't got good self-efficacy. But if somebody says you're garbage because you wrote this racist thing, coming back to our original point, you are not your work. So by writing something that is problematic, to use that word, doesn't make you problematic. They might try to frame you that way, but it's not. I think ultimately, to come back to this idea of dissonance, they always say disconnect the art from the artist when they don't like it. And sometimes I can't do it. I can't read Savage Dragon anymore because Eric Larson just won't stop lying and putting weird sexual stuff in his comics. I can't read Stephen King anymore because I've spent too much time looking at his Twitter, and I wish I hadn't. It colors the way that you see things.
Yeah. I think part of it also is in our society, our culture, and today we have.
He said we live in a society, people. He said we live in a society.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Cancel me.
Cancel.
You know what? Since we live in a society, you cannot expect to not be offended. Grow the fuck up and be an adult.
Exactly. So the thing is, we have a misconception of what love is. Like, we don't really understand what the core values of love are. And so we think, that's why you see these weird situations with Joker and Harley, that, to her in that situation looks like love, but to all of us on the outside, that's not love. So he was oh, I want to be a Joker. I want a Joker. I want to be a Harley. No, that's not love. That the whole point of that is that's not love.
That is the most toxic relationship that has ever existed in the face of the planet.
And we also don't identify the fact that there's platonic love, that you can love your brother, that there's filio, like Philadelphia, brotherly love, the city of brotherly love, that there's this idea that two people can have an inseparable bond and a love for one another that isn't physical. In our society, love equals sex. And that's how you show you love someone.
Well,
prob-
no,
could a
but
part of
see,
that-
but even then, so
That's just
so
lust.
love might equal sex, but sex does not equal love. Like they have found a way to make them not
Connect.
interchangeable. It's
Yeah.
only one way, but you can have sex with whoever the hell you want. Doesn't mean that you love them. Doesn't mean that you have a connection to them.
Lust.
Which is
It's all about lust.
one of the biggest lies, I think, that especially when we're talking about a lot of the younger generation, I think it's one of the biggest lies that they try to tell themselves, because when they do start having all of these kinds of situations where they're just free love and my body and, you know, I'm gonna run around naked and take back the word slut and all this crazy shit, in their minds they're doing something that is empowering. And then when they start having those natural emotions and those natural feelings of, I feel upset because the person that I, you know, shared this with has gone and shared this with another 5 people, or, you know, I don't, at the end of the day I go home and I am alone in my bed and I cry myself to sleep, rather than look at maybe the fact that it isn't just sex like they're saying, they turn around and say, well, it's society's fault that I feel this way. Something's broken in society. And that's what they turn on to try and fix. And then they wonder why they are eternally miserable. It's because you're fixing the wrong thing. At least my 2 cents. But I'm also one who
Nobody
has never
wants to
believed
take
in casual
accountability
sex.
for their own shit?
Sometimes I just want to watch a story that's not complicated by all of that extra that comes along with a relationship.
How
I just want to watch
dare
an
you.
action story, or read an action story, or read about, you know,
No.
hero and villain, but then, you know, it always turns into
No.
something, a
No.
ship.
Did
I
I
don't
miss
want-
the whole
I can do
Conversation with
without,
my
We already
old,
moved on.
D&D crew. And I
can
was
do without
like,
the
but
ships.
what if I just want, you know, just a basic story? What if I don't want all this shit in my comics? And one of my
If
brothers
there are
was like,
any
yeah,
girls
no,
there,
you're not
I
allowed.
want to do them.
well, that's fine.
Thank
Everybody
you.
else in the comic doesn't have to be, though.
Well, Jerry, you're gonna love the company man, Jerry, because there's no romance, no relationship, nothing like that. It's just cool dudes kicking down doors and punching out bad guys. So definitely get on that later this week when it launches, because I guarantee you, no romance whatsoever, no feelings. They don't even talk about their feelings. These guys are emotionally stunted, cut off. They're operators. They're completely destroyed on the inside. They're soulless, which is really what I was aiming for.
So an
compliment.
80s action movie, basically.
Yes.
What were you gonna say, Odin?
No, I was just saying. I was just asking this for the company man, dude. That like, I'm not even gonna lie, man. I've gotten a little bit of a peek at the art in that book, because I was helping Lee out with doing some stuff with this campaign.
Appreciate that.
And let me tell you, man, that book is next level. It looks gorgeous.
That's awesome.
I don't know if that went through or not, because my internet is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Thank you.
We heard you.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I honestly feel like this has been a really great show and a really, really awesome conversation. I love having all of you on. I think we're going to try and keep writing prose to around the 2-hour mark. I feel like when we go any further than that, it just degrades into ridiculousness and we're no longer talking about writing even a little bit. But you guys have been fucking phenomenal, and I'm so happy that we had this panel on for this discussion, because I feel like every single person had so much goodness to bring to
More sex in comics.
more sex in comics.
Less sex in comics.
Both of these topics. So I'm gonna go around and we're just gonna let everybody kind of sign off. I'm gonna start with Odin, because I don't know how much battery life he's got left on that phone, and I don't trust it. So go ahead, Odin.
You got 25%.
I actually got a hold of a charger, so my phone actually has quite a bit. But what I will say is, you can find me at ElysianFields_0. My name is Michael Odin, creator of Elysian Fields and The Embrace. And I will say that we have a special reveal coming, and if we hit 200 signups tonight, we're only 25 away. I will reveal it early. A few select members on this panel have gotten it in a private message, so you guys can see that and know what I'm talking
confirm
about.
it's awesome.
So make sure that you guys go to that Indiegogo, sign up for that, and Elysian Fields Pyramid Gambit should be fulfilling here in the next week or so.
Awesome. Lee. first time on. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you.
Go ahead and tell people where they can find you and what projects you got coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kemosabe returns on YouTube. I used to have another channel, The Man Called Kemosabe, but YouTube nuked me for wrong things, so I had to start all over again. So Kemosabe returns. That's critical indie comic reviews. So I'm not about dunking on the SJWs. I'm a fairly neutral sort of dude. I just want to talk about critical themes, stuff like that. Lee Byron Carver on Twitter. I've got a book coming out at the end of this week called The Company Men, Dead, White and Blue. It's 60 colors, 4 pages, metahumans trying to stop a terrorist plot in the Middle East. But the further they get into it, the more they find that their own government's telling them, don't investigate this. This is not a thing. Then eventually they get burned, and they've got to try and stop the plot while maintaining their own innocence and finding their way back to a good place with their own employers. It's a 180-page story broken up into 360-issue books. 360-page books. The sign-ups are going to end soon. If you sign up, you get access to the Renzo Rodriguez exclusive cover. You also go into the art to win original art pages. I've got a dozen original art pages on their way from Brazil. So if you sign up and you back the book, you've got a chance to just win one of those pages, posted at my own expense anywhere in the world. So you're going to get like an original Kelso Mazine drawn art page, traditional pen and ink you can put up on your wall. There's also the Clayton Barton first 48 hours exclusive cover. So if you back the book in the first 48 hours, you can get the Clayton Barton cover. But sign up to the pre-launch on Indiegogo, because I'm sending out an email today that's got all this information in it that's going to help you make decisions on what you actually want to back. Because I know you want to back it, so this is going to help you just decide specifically what tier you want to back at.
Lee, that's the best pitch ever. I know you want to back it, so this is just going to help you decide where. All right, Mr. John Hervey.
Well done,
All right, so John Hervey, you can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Beyond Time Inc. Currently in demand, I have Magna the Last Pantheon. Should be receiving the proofs for that this coming week, and then after that, the books will be flying out into people's hands. And
the
also,
beanies.
And the beanies. Oh, I can't. I'm so excited for the beanies.
The Beanie Brigade, come join us.
Yes, the beanies are awesome. If you don't have a beanie, you're missing out. And tomorrow, I'm going to be launching a sign-up page for the next volume of Black Tiger. So for those of you that caught the 172 pages of Legacy of Fury, we are on to the next story. It's called Black Tiger, Hidden Dragon. So we'll get that list up tomorrow, and we'll once Magna is fulfilled and we have a good robust list for Black Tiger, then we'll hop right on that campaign.
Awesome. Luke Stone.
Hello, my name is Luke Stone. I'm the writer and artist behind a book called Hybrids, the Sons of God, and I have part 1 of The Killing Field available right now on Indiegogo. It has got 2 more weeks left for funding, and then we will be shipping that out. I'm currently working on part 2 of that right now. We're about a little more than 50% of the way done with the art. I'm also founder of a company called Terraform Comics, and so if you go to terraformcomics.com right now, you can see our first offering that is live on Kickstarter right now. I have a story that I'm working on with a partner in there as well. So check me out on social media. Just go to lukestonestudios.com. You can find all of my links there and links to all that other fun stuff. So look forward to seeing you.
And we unlocked patches.
We unlocked patches. We officially have patches, yes. So we are we're moving towards our second stretch goal on that. So we're pretty happy. But we'd like to see that happen before the end of the campaign.
Yes, so make sure you go and check out Hybrids.
Yep.
Jerry, how are you?
I am great. Hey everyone, I'm Jerry Brown. I'm the creator of Evermatter, which is funding on Indiegogo right now. And Evermatter has just got a whole lot bigger. It went from 32 pages to 48 pages. We've added 6 pages of story from book 2. We've added a pinup gallery, and I've added some production art. So Evermatter has gotten a lot bigger. It's a great story. Go and back it on Indiegogo.
Awesome. Luke. Look, I was really nice and didn't call you Luke.
Hold on 1 second.
Oh gosh.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes. Luke doesn't. He's too busy killing.
Do you recall that I made a bet?
Yep.
Do you recall that I won this bet?
Okay. I'm at Death Metal Hero. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, you have
Topicless on Tuesday on Jason's channel, usually at 9:15. We'll see when it happens.
Did you see this where he's
what?
asking if we're doing it on Monday this week because he was trying to do a chill stream on Malin's on Tuesday?
Fine, whatever. Monday on Unhinged Entertainment. Go hit the like button. Share some.
Monday.
Whew.
You good?
Carbonation.
Yeah.
I mean the buzz is decent on the prosecco, but I mean too much carbonation. Anyway, I did the single look of doom. Hit the like button, share, and subscribe. Because I'll be doing one of those pretty soon. Because my face is feeling better now. I am doing a card for Absolute Book 2. Subscribe, or what is it? Sign up. Yeah, he's got a sign up going for the mailing list. The mailing list. Anyway, working on my own monster book and the Anthology of Horror by Shay the Red. Me ready for it.
I love Luke's vamps when he gets lost in what he's
Yeah,
trying
he
to
was like, I forgot what the fuck
whatever.
it was.
I'm drunk. I'm stoned.
I'm doing that shit with Shay. There's some shit with Jason. There's a lot of
shit going around.
It's gonna be fun. Pay
attention.
Next time, Gadget.
Real quick for Mr. John Hervey, we have a request for a catch-up tier for Black Tiger 2.
There will be. So
Okay.
with the new Black Tiger, because I know a lot of people missed out on this bad boy, missed out on the volume. So we're gonna reprint volume 1 so you can get caught up on the story.
Awesome.
Do a different cover.
All right.
That's the plan,
Side,
my friend.
Do you want me
Yes.
to make it big?
No,
Okay.
I'm big enough.
Okay. Are you gonna sign off or are you gonna play in the chat?
I'm gonna play in the chat. Now Jason's back too. We'll do it Tuesday.
Oh my gosh.
We'll just do it later Tuesday. Whatever, Jason. Whatever.
That's fine.
Hey Jason,
Whatever.
decide and then
Wednesday
tweet
is one
out,
of the only
okay?
days I
Because
have
Monday's
off, so-
tomorrow.
Here's an idea.
Monday's
And I'm gonna
Saturday.
fill in the bingo cards for our members.
Don't
Why don't you talk
sleep.
off air with your co-host and figure this
Fuck it,
out?
we'll do it live.
I'll just redraw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just gonna hit all the bingo cards.
Are we?
All right.
Shay had to go. She said to. Anyway.
On a writing stream. Yeah, there we go.
And Jason, don't lie. You said you'll see. We all know that you're partially blind. Anyway.
You won't see
Damn
shit.
words.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. Consider becoming a member. We got a pretty awesome members corner that has, a members circle. Size very
Circle.
specific about their
No
shapes.
corner. No corner.
No corners.
Like a
It's like a
circle.
circle.
Next time, Gadget. Next time.
But yeah, so
Random.
come hang out with us in a member circle. Get early access into Regen. If you get up in higher levels, get some really awesome artwork. I swear I'm sending that out to the people that became members at those tiers. I apologize.
Done,
It's been
printed,
so long.
ready to go.
And yeah, go check out redvalkyrie.net for all of the awesomeness that is Red Valkyrie, like merch, schedule, all kinds of cool stuff. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. This has been a phenomenal episode, and if you're watching this on replay, I hope that you found something of use out of it. We will catch you guys next Sunday. See you later.
Hey.
Bye.
Peace.